everything is slowly ramping up. Apparently, I will have a frame rate above 20 before too long. Hopefully. There we go. Hello, everybody. This is an unexpected stream. I kind of said that I wanted to try and do something over the weekend. In fairness, I was actually trying to shoot for Saturday, so if you were watching this on a VOD, wondering why you got a notification for the Systems Chalk stream going live on a Sunday, it's not your fault, it's me. I didn't know when I was going to have the time to do this. But I'm really looking forward to doing some more Cultist Simulator. There's a couple of reasons why I wanted to get an extra one in now. I am going to be... So I've been on a special course for work. It's about 6 weeks of work. A lot of it is about doing surveys. So my job is more analytical in nature. I've never conducted a survey. I've always sort of relied on data already being there for me to work with, and often I work with what's known as administrative data. So this is usually data that was collected for some other purpose, and I just try and bring it, bring it into some kind of a shape that I can do an analysis with. But it's been a really interesting course to learn how surveys work, and sort of part of the idea behind it is that we will be creating a survey from scratch and conducting it. And that also includes doing the interviews, which this work is normally done by professionals, so this is an interesting part of the course for all sorts of reasons. So in addition to the fact that my schedule's been a little wonky due to that course anyway, next week is going to be particularly troublesome because when you are doing a survey and you are interviewing people, you interview them on their time, not yours. And so there's going to be some earlier mornings for me, which won't interrupt the stream. However, there are going to be some evening streams, or some evening shifts as well, and those do fall on days that I would normally do the broadcast. Hey, Ruthless Printons, good to see you. So yeah, with that in mind, this is my way of, giving a little bit of a makeup cast, if you will, to do that. I also did just finish recording another episode of Elder Scrolls. For those of you who do not know my Elder Scrolls casts, I am playing a Dark Elf which uses this voice. And they usually go for 2-3 hours, and it's very difficult on my vocal cords. So no promises this will be as long as the other broadcasts, but I wanted to get a little bit more priest in. So let me just take a quick minute here, get my windows where they need to be, and we will carry on where we were before. So this is still the same. Yes, this is the same one. Hello, Samurai CCJ. I'm always fond of reminding you who made this. So also very special thank you to Weather Factory for tweeting out the stream. I know I am in the unfortunate position of being, well, it's not unfortunate that I'm in Canada. It's actually wonderful to be in Canada. But I am in the rather unfortunate position that I enjoy this game tremendously, and I am often very fond of saying what impossibly nice people Weather Factory are. And this has not changed. Their ranks are growing, and they are all still hiring people who, had I not directly experienced their kindness and patience, I would have thought had been made up. But it is always a little unusual to see sort of like a retweet of a cast or something like that, and it's not because I don't think they're disinterested, but I tend to be broadcasting around a time that I hope everybody is asleep. But with that in mind, very special thanks to them for tweeting out the stream. Maybe a caution to those of you who are checking this out the first time live. This is not a normal time that I stream, and so there is a small drawback in that this may not be something that works for you, but let us enjoy the time together. Responsibilities: design, writing, and coding by Alexis Kennedy, production, marketing, and biz by Lottie Bevan, UI design and coding by Martin Nerukar. These three can be found on Twitter at Alexis Kennedy, at Tron Bevan, and at M Nerukar. I will also mention that Martin has got a game called Nowhere Profit. We've played it on the cast a few times, and it has recently signed with No More Robots, so this will be coming to Steam relatively soon, I think. But if you want to check it out now, I believe you can still get this on itch, and I believe if you get the itch version, it will give you a Steam key. Art is by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan, and Sarah Gordon. The lovely music that you're listening to is by Maribeth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Erb, or I could be pronouncing this incorrectly, but they haven't yelled at me yet, for Mickey Mar Productions Limited. This music, by the way, is available as a separate DLC that you can buy. You actually don't even need to have Cultist Simulator to be able to buy this on Steam, but if you also use some music services, I am a subscriber on Apple Music, so I get it through there. They also have the Sunless Sea soundtrack on. But I believe if you have Spotify or any of those other services, you should be able to listen to that music as well. Audio by Soundcuts, additional writing by Lottie Bevan, additional coding, Fraser McCormick, Chris Payne, and Mark Gagnier, also known as Lyroziter, also now a full-time member of Weather Factory. Additional design by Callan Porter, and of course, another addition here, marketing and PR, by Claire Sharkey, who is the other full-time member of Weather Factory now. Special thanks to Sonia and PK, Matt Hosty, Haley Urias, who I don't think I ever mentioned. I used to always say was sort of fail better alumnus, but is now working. I do not recall the name of the firm that she's working at, but it is the one that's doing the like the Funko Pop Gears of War game. So it's an absolute delight to follow that Twitter account as well. And literally everyone who's ever sent feedback or a bug report, thank you. And for those of you who haven't, support@weatherfactory.biz. I can't point any fingers because I have written down far more notes than I've actually sent to that email. But without further ado, let us continue the story of... There we go. Ronald Knox, our priest. So, we're in a very interesting little spot here. Because we had spent so much effort trying to get the Formulae Ophidian, and we got it, and then we found out that it was not actually what we really wanted. The real lore was the friends we made along the way. Is that the right way of thinking about it? So what's unique about the priest start, by the way, I really don't... I'm actually quite happy with this layout, with the exception of the items. I need to find a better way to organize my possessions. And I know there is... I can probably break it down like what I've done. I could probably break it down so that there's my painting and there's everything else, but I still haven't quite made any sense out of this. But yeah, so one of the things that we have been working on is trying to get a scar. The thing that's interesting about the priest is that you do not start with a desire. And I have got a hypothesis right now that if we do a certain combination of actions with my job, the appointment to a quiet parish, we will get... My guess is that we'll be getting the desire. It is possible we'll be getting something else. But that's what I've been working with so far, at least. And the challenge is that my original intention was to get the level 10 knock to try that. And it turns out that the knock was one of 2 bits of lore that would not do what I thought it would do. So we put all that effort in, and we ultimately found that I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. So that's fine. This is, of course, where the fun of the game is, in trying out new things. This is also maybe one quick point that I'll make, because I know I seem very unreasonable about backseating and such. One of it is a respect thing, because there are much bigger casters out there where it is simply assumed, and correctly so, that telling them how to play the game is not done. And what I tend to notice is that when somebody is a smaller broadcaster, all of a sudden it seems like that's okay. And I don't believe that should be related to the size of a broadcast. I think that should be related to someone's willingness to be told how to play a game. But more importantly, obviously this isn't out yet, but had I been told, oh, don't do that, it won't work, we all would have missed that really wonderful little moment on Wednesday where it's like, oh no, we put so much effort and it didn't turn out. And part of the things that's so interesting about this game is that it's sort of up to you to decide whether or not some of the endings are good or bad ones. This is very much, even though it's a bunch of cards, it is a narrative game. And you're largely responsible for how the story turns out. And as with most stories, if it's just one constant, trend upwards, then it's maybe not that interesting. It's usually when you have sort of the ups and downs. So that was a fun little moment. But now we're back to trying to find our next level. The most likely upgrade, incidentally, would be Heart. Because I can upgrade the Waking Chant, and then I can upgrade the Geminate Invocation, and we'll be able to get a level 10 out of that. Now, there is the question as to whether or not I'm going to have the resources that I need to be able to get this upgrade done. But we still have some time ahead of us as well. So I think I'm going to avoid the upgrades for now. I'm going to digest the works that I already have, and then we'll maybe take a moment and build ourselves back up as far as a crew to go and start ransacking some temples and whatnot. So we are, first of all, we're actually already we're already in Orthos Wood. I had a bunch of moth available to me to throw into the Orthos Wood, and that seemed to be the best call in terms of getting things done. So we're currently trying to deceive the Watchers. I don't think there's anything else I need to do there right now. I might need to toss some more money in, but I don't need it at the moment. I can study, and the Fire Circle Tantra seems to be the most likely. It's very easy. If you tell me what to do in the game, that is wrong. And if you don't tell me what to do in the game, or you don't do something that is essentially saying what to do in the game, then it's all right. The challenge is that I have moderated multiple channels while I've been on Twitch, and you'll notice that I don't have a bunch of written rules. And the biggest reason for it is I'd like to think that I'm actually fairly open in terms of what I will accept. The one real red line is people essentially being disrespectful or rude to each other in chat. If it's towards me, I have an easy ban button. But the problem is that when you actually try and codify the rules, the people who comply are already compliant. The people who don't comply will then extend the problem of being timed out or banned or whatever into this extended litigation over what counts as a rule. And the thing is that as much as I like to be very open and friendly, like, there is quite a bit that it takes out of me to do a broadcast, and being told how to do that broadcast is one of the things that doesn't make it fun for me. And so in the interest of making it fun for everyone to watch, I remove that particular trigger. So the thing is that every single time there has been a timeout or a ban in any other channel that has had listed rules, and it has been about the interpretation of the rules, it has always resulted in somebody turning like a 5 or 10 minute timeout into either a permanent ban or a 24-hour timeout. And so I'm somewhat of the opinion, as harsh as it seems, that if someone cannot figure out proper conduct through just being told and corrected in the moment, writing a list of rules won't be there. And I am also somewhat of the opinion that it's really not the broadcaster's job to babysit people. If they are being disruptive in chat, the answer to that is to remove them from engagement for however long it takes for the message to come through. And that does mean that some people leave, but ultimately it means that there's more time that is spent on entertaining people than dealing with them. So Neutrino VE says, you just searched for streams for this game, you found yourself here. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm sorry I didn't answer your chat right away. I was just answering questions. So you had your first game of CS this weekend, and it didn't last long. Had no idea what you were doing, and you went in blind. So perhaps there's a bit of good news and a bit of bad news for you. Bad news is I'm fairly far in, so what might be construed as spoilers will be in here. But the good news is this is something that hasn't been released yet. And you get, I'm far enough ahead that probably not a lot of this is going to make sense to you. So consider this fair warning. I hope you enjoy the game. A lot of this really is figuring things out, and we're actually trying to figure out something ourselves here. So you'll maybe get a chance to see how I approach stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you're having a good time with it, because going in blind really is the way to do it. So. Well, yeah, Baver, honestly, it just comes down to the idea. I completely appreciate that there is, as you say, like with autism and such, it can be a challenge because obviously everybody has a different idea in terms of what the line is. And my own view has never been like, I know there are people who think otherwise. Like, I can show you some DMs where basically, people have called me unstable, or, I'm never going to be big on Twitch because of this stuff and whatnot. Like, some people are just really dumb. But because in the end, being big on Twitch is absolutely not an ambition that anybody should really have, in my view. It's not really that big of a deal. But my view has always been that, it's not... Like, to me, I've never seen it as a problem. It's like I said before, like, if somebody reacts badly to being told, please don't do that, the problem is their reaction to the correction. The problem is not the mistake they made in the first place. I completely get that there are different, sort of different interpretations. And like I said, some of the stuff that I said sounds pretty harsh at the moment, where I'm like, you guys just need to figure it out. And I do largely believe that, because again, I've been in enough chats and I've moderated enough chats to know that there are people who will take up all of the time of the broadcaster litigating the rules. And so I definitely sort of consider intent when some of that stuff comes down to it. But yeah, the biggest thing is just, I think honestly it just comes down to the idea that a timeout is not that big of a deal. It means you don't get to chat in something for a period of time. A purge, even less so. It just removes the chat from the window. So anyways, I didn't mean to litigate the stuff. What I was trying to do was say something constructive, which is to say that when a game does not go through the way you had intended, that often results in a more memorable experience. And because Cultist Simulator has so many opportunities to trip up, or because you're always sort of stumbling around in the dark, following these little impressions that you get, to me it's full of those really memorable moments where I'm like, oh, I really wanted this to happen, and it went the exact opposite the way that I'd intended. So but yeah, so we're still looking for a desire. This is the thing that's fun about the priest, is that we don't have it. We have an idea about how we're going to get it. And before I upgrade any of my existing lore, I'm going to try and study a little bit more before we move ahead. I'd sort of like to try and make it edge, but it's more likely it's going to be heart, because I've already got it here. I'm really going to do my best, though, to try and do either edge, winter, and we've already eliminated knock as a possibility. Yeah, I'd prefer edge or winter if I can. So we'll take the Fire Circle Tantra. The one known extant copy of this in Western Europe was stolen from the British Library in 1892, when Harvey Hattington confessed to the crime and claims to have eaten it with butter and garlic in a moment of ungovernable whimsy. Herein the great hooded princes are shown beseeching the wood to rise and devour an invading Timrid army. The Dapple King and the Honey Tree and the Sea Twins all deny their request until they enlist the help of a burrowing secret keeper. So we'll read that. I did sort of idiot-proof myself last broadcast. We've got all of the verbs going. We're still waiting for the fifth eye curse to trigger, but we're gonna be moving on. All right, Jannings. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So that's more mystique for me, as well as an Iron Spintrea. I can't do the Moth commission, but I can at least talk with Dr. Redeem. Oh, how's that commission coming along? I'm looking forward to your thoughts. I'm writing it right now. It's in the mail. All right, so in 10 seconds we'll make some progress. Hopefully we'll make some progress in Northwest Wood. Not much to be done as far as the notoriety is concerned. It'd be nice to have some mystique kicking around just so I can paint if I need. The Watcher's confusion. Their bewilderment is our opportunity. We will pass in silent secrecy. Pippin, 369th of their name. How are you doing? First time catching a stream live? I'm very happy to have you. I'm assuming you must be watching on YouTube then. It's always delightful to have people from YouTube stop by, because before Cultist Simulator, my experience of YouTube, there is a Battlefield 1 stream that I had. A friend of mine gifted me a copy of the game to do on stream, and I did the Lawrence of Arabia story, and I titled the stream The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. And the thing about streaming is it's all improvised, and so for that particular one, I was rather tired that day, and I sort of fumbled through my introduction, and I'd forgotten a couple of bits of biographical information for Lawrence. So like I just sort of this ramblish. I mean, you guys are kind of familiar with the format. I ramble quite a bit, and especially at the start, because I didn't have immediate command of the subject. I really don't like the style of people, opening up a Wikipedia page and off camera and then like speaking as if they're an authority, because to me that's very transparent. And number two, I don't like pretending that I have knowledge that I don't. But that experience that is one of the most viewed videos for some reason, and it always results in someone like leaving a nasty comment. That has been the majority of my YouTube experience. And then when I started doing Cultist Simulator, there's so many people who are being incredibly nice. So I'm always excited to see people who stop by as a result of the YouTube stuff. I know it's not always to everyone's taste. That's totally fine. It's clearly true for Battlefield. But it's always nice when people sort of say hi, especially when they haven't, when they're familiar with the material, but I haven't had a chance to see them in person. So that's great to hear, Pippin. Yeah, it's a pseudo tutorial. The secret about that tutorial is I don't actually say anything that isn't already inside the game. I just kind of present it in a way that I think some people found a little more, a little bit of the bridge between how I think the game is intended to be played and other ones. The funny thing is I really don't give away that much in that tutorial, but people have been very kind with their comments. All right, let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. It's a little riskier, but I'm able to sort of take on that risk right now. And we got a Forgotten Chronicle for the effort. So, a story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Exploring with a scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations on the continent. Last night, I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My host had manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard in my Kerisham days. You're welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Sure, let me just take a quick second here, Neutrino. I'll get you the YouTube link. As is my way, I don't do anything briefly, so, but here is that video. It's called A Beginner's Guide to Cultist Simulator. It's basically half an hour long, and it's, again, tutorial really is the best. This game was made without a tutorial for a reason, and for those of you who are going to click on that link, please do give yourself the chance to get through the game on your own. The intention of that video has never been to do a tutorial that, like, Weather Factory is perfectly capable of producing a tutorial, and there was a very conscious decision, which you can read all about at weatherfactory.biz, which is their blog. They tell you everything right up front there. It has never been my intention to do a tutorial that, you know, quote unquote, should have been in the game before. But I'm also a little conscious of this. So number one, obviously, as a content creator, I'm always looking for something to make that I think people will want to watch, because obviously this whole thing is about getting people's attention. And the other thing is that because I had something of a suspicion that people would be producing something along the lines of a tutorial, I wanted to make what I considered to be a sort of, not exactly training wheels, but sort of a more gentle introduction to Cultist Simulator that makes some things more explicit. So it's definitely going a bit further than Weather Factory did. But to present it in such a way that people would still have a chance to sort of figure things out for themselves. Like I said, I mean, this is the problem. I think most people who are going to be watching this will already be familiar with that tutorial. But the secret is that whole video does not have any information that is not actually present in the game when you play it for the first time. Unless, like, you die within, I don't know, the first 10 minutes of playing, which is really hard to do. I essentially unpack what's in those square brackets. But the one thing I was a little conscious of is that the way that the tutorials are laid out appeals to one type of player. And I sort of wanted to try and capture the players who were just on the border of giving up on the game, but would still enjoy that process of, like, discovering things for themselves. So again, essentially all that video really is me just playing the game and doing the breadcrumbs. And once the breadcrumbs stop, I actually stop playing the game. So with that in mind, again, the canonical experience of Cultist Simulator is to play it without watching that video and without reading any tutorials along those lines. But there's also no point in banging your head against something that you're not enjoying, and you might find something like that will help you maybe get some purchase on this mountain that you didn't find before. So, and again, this is not to, you know, I certainly don't mean to disrespect anybody who enjoyed that tutorial and found it helpful. I just want to be really clear that I did not perceive myself as closing some gap that Weather Factory... I mean, it is a necessary gap in the literature, I think, was something that the Annals of Mathematics wound up writing. Like, it is not my intention to sort of second-guess their decision, because they really did make the right call by not including a tutorial in the game. In the end, they rightly assumed that people would have an expectation that the game would continue to tell them how to play it after a certain period of time. But again, you know, games like this don't exist in a vacuum, and there's obviously a lot of games that really do give you a lot in terms of telling you how to play it. And so I wanted to try and write... it was kind of my version of a safety net to try and keep people who are on the verge of giving up. I wanted to try and give them something that would give them a chance to maybe get a little something out of the game. So... Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of... I opted to do something that I thought would be at least consistent with the spirit of not including a tutorial. So, but seeing as I don't actively advertise it, so seeing as we're talking about it now, I just wanted to... I wanted to be really clear, because I do see some comments on that video every once in a while that are something to the effect of, why didn't the devs do this? And it's like, it's because it's more fun this way. So, in my dreams I know the path to the white door through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead who pass that way. I will need health to resist the chill. And good to see you, Tall Man Alive. I was hoping you'd catch it, because I know you were asking for it when I was streaming The Walking Dead. I hope you're doing well. Okay. I'm not quite sure who I want to talk with next. We did have some upgrades we needed to do. So Sylvie is still a believer and Dorothy is a believer. So let's... Yeah, I don't have anything that I need to worry about with evidence for now. So let's move some of my moth people up. But I did that wrong. Okay, the Society of the Holy Wound. This is our cult, and we'll take Sylvia. We'll give a big fancy ceremony.
I would never want to belong to any club.
Thank you very much for that follow, Neutrino V. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Sylvia has detailed knowledge of roof ridges, of river at low tide, of Irish whiskey, and of conjuring tricks. I don't believe Claire was a member of Weather Factory at this time, but I wonder if part of the job interview was what character do you relate with. All right, I finished the manuscript, so we've completed our treatise on Lantern. Had I been thinking, I would have turned that in first, but we're okay. So I need level 6 Moth, which I currently don't have. I can get it if I double up my Wood Whispers, although we might still be getting it through here anyway. So while we're waiting, let's do some painting. And do I have anything useful for inspiration? Not really, so let's take... oh, you know what? Isaacson would never forgive me if I don't paint Neville, so we'll do a painting of Neville to remember him by. Alright, treasures lie before us, so in 30 seconds we'll probably get... actually, it'll probably be a minute before we get the items, so... Armed with the blackmail material from the burrowing secret keeper, the great hooded princes petition the powers of the wood for a second time and are successful. 1/4 of the Timrid army is devoured by bees, 1/4 drowns themselves, and 1/4 disrobe themselves until nothing remains. And we've got a level 8, the Moldywarp admonitions. Moldywarp keeps her crowns in the moss and her feet in the dirt, and trees locked jaw tight. Moldywarp has these warnings for you. So that's level 8 Moth. I knew a man who captured moths in a bell jar. On nights like this, he would release them one by one to die in the candle. Ryland, I don't have any plans to do things to Neville, although I do remember that we lost him in an unfortunate accident last time we played this, so you can never be too sure about what'll happen to your cult members. I would like to study, and now might be a good idea for me to... Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's try doubling up Chiliarch's lesson. So this is... I'll need to risk my health or use a prisoner. Oh my god, practical experimentation. Pain is only what happens now. Knowledge is what we will remember. Okay. So I'm just trying to make some use of this this study slot. My own heart pumps more strongly today. Colors of the night. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. Alright, the memory of crows, their bewilderment... Oh, no, we're still waiting. I think that might be... There we go. This is the great oak where the masked crow once roosted. Lightning has split it from head to heart. The tree is charred and rotting. It squirms with finger-length worms. Something glints dully in the swarm of dead roots. Okay, so bleak thoughts have emerged. I need to be careful not to generate any dread, although I don't think that should be a problem coming up. And I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. Okay, so there's my mystique. There's a little contentment, which would be decent at nullifying the any dread, but the dread will get absorbed by the despair before it has a chance to work. So unless we have an immediate use for this contentment, it'll probably just fall apart. I now have what I need to fulfill this commission, so let's take the Moldywarp admonitions, and we need both reason and passion for this particular one. Oops. Okay. If I wanted to summon something, an icy atmosphere would be helpful. I don't really want to, though, so let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. And we got a glimmering. My emotions run higher than usual. There are things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I'm closer to them. I recall my dream. This was the Lodge of Blue Silk, flapping in the winds of the bounds of the Manse's Edge, and here was its mistress, who welcomed me as she welcomes all travelers. Company is nice, she confided, but I still miss my Christopher. 10 years. 10 years and not enough. But we never could have been long together, not without touching each other. And you know what occurs when a man long lies with a long woman. Or perhaps you don't. I hope you don't. I won't tell you just in case. I will give you a tiny gift. So we got Glimmering. Alright, Sylvia has improved. So, to she who was flesh, I offer my wounds. To she who was stone, I offer this moment, where my old self divides from my new. To she who came from light, I offer my secrets. The door is opened. Sylvia's favorite tactic is to smile and close her eye. It is remarkable how often her interlocutor will blurt out exactly what they are thinking. So we've got more moth for the flame. We've got more moth to play with. Let's turn in the Lantern Commission for Dr. Redeem. That'll probably result in more mystique, but can't complain too much about that. Yet another Course of the Heart. I'll not complain too much about it. The reason we're getting the Course of the Heart is just because I keep going through... So if this seems like it's coming up very frequently, it's because I'm always going through the White Door. We're not going to be able to do anything but the White Door until I have a desire. So for now, I'm gonna keep at it. What else was I gonna do? We're already turning in with a Deem. Ah yes, so the Fifth Eye Curse. So the third eye is a myth, or the pineal gland. The fourth eye is a mark in certain processes of ascension. The fifth eye now opens before me. So this is gobbling up my passion. Let's see what else comes up. So, wisdom is a country, and these are its maps. Solve all the challenges on both fragments of lore to complete the research task. You can return to a task later if you fail. So, I'm genuinely unsure if I'm going to be able to work this one, but we'll do our best. A root coils around an egg of lead the size of a child. Perhaps it was plated with another metal once, but the weather has removed all trace of any coating. After a struggle, the halves of the egg come apart to reveal its contents. So we've got the Voiceless Dead for another 30 seconds. We've got my Experienced Swindler. I can always pay for them to be extended if it comes down to it. Yzabet is our disciple. So we've got a combined 15... moth if we need it. I've got my hint. And we have, in the mountains upon the plain, there may not be a path where none has passed. A work by Naingala of Lagash. Now this, unfortunately, I believe is in Vac, so I don't have any way of reading that. We've got a dappled mask, so in the forest where the moon couldn't let go, the boughs of the trees were woven together like bandages or lovers. The moon might change herself to an ant or a bird or to her sister, but the forest would not yield to her penetrations. No matter her caresses. One day we came with our scissors and we severed the branches until the moon and the blood dappled the rotting leaves of the forest floor. This is a level 8 moth. This will be helpful in certain rituals. Got Lethe, a dark and syrupy liquor favored in unnamed forest villages. The tongue and the eye. Now we begin. Forget your name, forget your skin. So leave this over here. It's not a pigment, unlike these. And we have the Whispering Amulet. It knows what I desire, or I imagine it does. Okay. So, a bit of a mixed bag. I was really kind of hoping for more books to read, which we don't really have, so we'll carry on. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip, so we've got some erudition to work with, a little more mystique, although it's getting crowded up here. And Dr. Redeem's going to be on cooldown for a while. Okay. So, the next question is, where do I want to visit next? I've got sort of my team is in order now. Realistically, all that I need is influence, and I can summon whatever I want. Although there's going to be some limits in terms of what I have lore-wise. I think I'm just going to go in order again. So, Chateau Reveline. The famous stories of the Comte de Reveline claim they descended from the first Sun King. Other stories have them prowling the forest in wolf shape. They are long gone. Their rotting chateau remains. Not all of its malignities have been uncovered. So we'll send the Voiceless Dead and the hint in, and the reason for that is that I can always get the Experienced Swindler. I can always pay money to get them back, whereas these are going to constantly tick down until I try to summon them again. Of course, summoning will take more than 44 seconds. So, and then we'll throw some money at our problems, and The remote and rotting chateau of the Comte de Reveline was looted long ago. We have found hints that it was not looted thoroughly enough. There may be a secret room. Equally, there may be a curse. Expeditions will need at least 1 funds per obstacle. Followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. And we also have an opportunity to talk, so let's get Dorothy. Other than my pawns, Dorothy is the last upgrade I need to make. Oh, let's find out what Dorothy's write-up was. Dorothy is an enthusiastic sort. I have turned her enthusiasm to our advantage. And Jannings wants another commission. Okay. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. Risk your health or use a prisoner. I will risk my health. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So hidden doors can be found with lantern or knock. We need heart or lantern to suppress this curse. Otherwise, it will not keep us from our goal, but it may trouble us later. So this is not bad news, because the hint's already giving us level 8. In this case, we'll bring Slee along. That'll bring us up to 13, which, again, there's no longer any guaranteed successes as far as the expeditions are concerned. But once we're up to 10 lore, we should be able to move ahead with a certain degree of confidence. Okay. I'm a big old loner, so I get contentment out of that season. The curse has taken hold. Now the world, rotting, leaks light. With enough heart influence, it will be possible to turn aside the curse. Ah. Interesting. I wonder if I can throw some vitality in here. Nope, it has to be... Holy smokes. I feel like this has changed. I don't remember this being so vicious. Yeah, I don't see any possible way that I can upgrade my heart in 1 minute. Okay, manuscript's done. We'll have a chat with Madame Bichet when that comes up. Old and happy far off things. Moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. I have some work that I can do. No, I don't actually, because... so I'll do a painting instead. Got more than a little notoriety to throw at this, but I'll take fleeting reminiscence as inspiration. I will eventually paint away the restlessness, but for now we'll work with what I've got here. I'll also take the Lodge of the Sage and anything. Oh, that would have been so good! Alright, those pulsing airs actually would have helped me out. I would have been able to upgrade that. Glimmering, my emotions run higher than usual. There will always be things I never understand, and those things will always be precious. But just now, I am closer to them. Glimmering can be used with study to gain passion, and it lasts only 3 minutes if unused. So I'll pass over that one for now, just because I want to jump back into the white door as quickly as possible, and we'll almost certainly find this hidden door. I'm not going to put anything else towards this expedition right now. Although I suppose I could put my Swindler. Unless... nope, I'm not going to. I think I'm going to take the time to rehire them. Okay. Dorothy's enthusiasm has become an obsession. She will not cease, and how she loves to dance. Oops. Okay. So I still have time. The thing is, I can let this experienced swindler run right down to the last possible second, because in the end I'm just making the funds that I put towards getting them, I'm just making that run a little bit further. So it only takes 10 seconds to get and to turn in a commission, and then we can turn around and rehire the experienced swindler. Okay, we'll spend money to make my fancy painting. And Jannings would like a commission on edge, so we'll see whether or not we do anything interesting with this. The damage. Pain is a teacher, they say, especially if they aren't in pain. Health has been injured. Alright. I think I'm going to be able to use the vitality to recover it. I may not. We'll see how that turns out. I can turn in with Madame Bichet, but afterwards I'm going to need to make sure that the swindler gets rehired. A half glimpse wistfulness has touched me, so I have 1 minute to get this painted away, otherwise it'll decay into dread. That's not always a bad thing in certain circumstances, but for this one it is. So, and I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So, more mystique. Another glimmering. Glimmering would normally be helpful in terms of the research that I'm doing, but it seems that I have more practical knowledge. So, significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Well, right now, I need to pay up. There's a couple things that are special about this one. Because they've been wounded twice with, and it's a winter scar, they're level 4 winter in addition to level 5 moth, so they're a particularly talented hire. And in the end, I've got I'm fairly comfortable as far as money is concerned, so I'm okay spending a bit to bring them back into the fold, at least as long as we have some areas to investigate. So my name is well known, and my work is done well. Has it ever? Alright, more glimmering because I'm just so talented. I could try and do this very substantial commission, but then that would mean that the restlessness decays into dread. So in this case, I think I'm only gonna use 2 of the notoriety. I kind of want this one to run down on its own, and we've got more mystique. Essentially, the probability of this being selected next is the lowest that it's going to be for a while. So in this case, I'm going to take sort of a calculated risk, and here we'll paint away the restlessness. This should have an impact. How's it going, Dalanu? And we've got another season of another bleak thought. Oops. Okay, looks like 5th Thy Curse, last chance. I cannot stop seeing. If I look long enough, I will not wish to. So I believe that completely eliminated that passion and turned that into fascination. So one way I would normally get rid of the fascination would be through dread, although in the most recent version it's the fleeting reminiscence, which has gone through. So I am less of what I was. But again, there's really no real. So maybe if I got that hard influence from the Orchard of Lights, it might have turned out differently. For now, I'll just accept what's happened and move over. Oh, thank you. All right, erudition's pretty good. I can sometimes do something with lantern influence, but it could decay into fascination. So this is the safer the options. I soak up knowledge. Oh, I soak up knowledge as a shadow soaks up light. I may be close to advancement. In last night's dream, I was in the lodge of the Sage Knight behind the White Door. It is difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I'd lost my speech when I passed the White Door. How is it that I can speak, she said to me. I didn't come here through the White Door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you something else. So, there's our erudition. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I want to be doing with my dream token right now. Probably combining the fascination and the fleeting reminiscence. Fascination is an input to research now sometimes, but I don't think it's going to be an input at a time when I need it. So it's probably better to neutralize it rather than let it run around. Otherwise, only other thing I might want to do is take my Swindler and add them to the expedition. And we'll always pay for paint. Again, this was more about neutralizing the restlessness rather than trying to get anything out of it. So I'm not going to get paid as well as if I'd cranked it full of notoriety, but there's a small chance that I'll at least be able to get rid of a little of it. Okay, so now I understand. This vitality will last long enough to be able to heal the injury. I need rest and nourishment if I am to recover, but the Mother of Ants looks kindly on wounds. Dreaming with an injury before the card fades will also allow you to recover health. So, important to remember, and of course we've already seen this suggestion, this is not knock aspect, which I don't know how often people check out the different aspects, but there's some implications inside of that. Of course, we're very familiar with them, given the kinds of services we've been doing. For now, we've got an operation of the Labite, a series of mystic exercises that requires both dedication and terror. If I wanted to upgrade this, I'd need a Grim Lesson, so Dread, Silent Intensity, or an HQ with a Pit. So this one, essentially, I need to build the Dread in order to be able to upgrade it. Alternatively, Practical Experimentation and Risk Health or use a Prisoner, and I don't have a Prisoner, so. Realistically, what's probably going to happen is I'll take the Knife Secret, I'll upgrade, then we'll get the Colonel's names and we'll be able to move that up to a level 10. Alternatively, if we can do the same with the Winter Lore, but I think in the current state of things, it's more likely that Edge will be the one that I upgrade. I'm just going to move this Vitality off to the side to remind me. Okay, study-wise, actually, unless I feel... No, I mean, it makes sense for me to put some effort into my studies, so we'll do the Knife Secret. It's possible we'll wind up with another injury, but... The Colonel is a fierce hour, but the power which knows light, and he has survived worse. His power will almost certainly protect us. Okay, so, alright, same terms as before. Here we're just putting the Swindler in so that we can stop the timer from going down. We've got the place behind desire. Is there something to be learnt from the satisfaction of desire? This one is a little hard to... Oh no, they've got Grail as well. They've got everything. My recent work was considered notable, so... If I wanted more money, obviously I could use... I could use all of this, but right now I want to focus on fulfilling these commissions. So let's take our... Edge. We'll double up our reason. And I guess I can chat with Adim about getting another commission, but I'm sort of out of things to do with the talk verb. I might just start upgrading pawns at this point. The other thing I can try and do would be to see if I can find Poppy. I think there's actually another character that I should be able to find. I just don't know if it's through talk or not. The problem, of course, is that it usually, I think it more often, the passion one triggers, and so I'm just going to have mistaken identity, but... Alright, Adim would like a commission on the secret histories. So, let's get some upgrades done first, and then we'll see if we can find some more people for my Rolodex, or whatever the cultist equivalent of it is. I guess we just tattoo it on one of the pawns. All my contacts. Okay. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. This one is loyal but lacks initiative. Alright, I got sick. That won't be too hard to deal with. It's just everything's going away. The air is curdled now, and I am home again in this lump in flesh. Better, perhaps. So we'll combine the vitality and the injury to recover that. I'm gonna have to do the same for the sickness as well, although it'll probably be money that I spend. But again, that's not the end of the world. I'm reasonably well stocked. Just gonna pause for a little water. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Okay, so more practical experimentation. It's not like I need the health, right? I forgot to move these glimmerings over. Finished the manuscript, so that's good news. Jannings will be happy about that. We might as well turn around and do our secret histories as well. I'm going to be a little low on reason, so I may not be able to turn that in. Or no, because it'll take a minute to finish the commission, at which point those will become available again. Bichet is also ready for another manuscript when the time comes. To she who is flesh, I offer my wounds. To she who is stone, I offer this moment. Where my old self divides from my new, to she who came from light, I offer my secrets. The door is opened. A silent disciple, loyal and quiet as the falling snow. So, again, these are not... This isn't really going to be anything you get too excited about. We have 2 winter and edge. But it's more than what we had before, and I do tend to find being able... Like, one thing that's nice about this is, let's say I've got, like, my lantern pawn. If I take the hint, and then I take this pawn, this is going to give me... Or sorry, not the pawn, but when I upgrade this pawn, that's going to give me enough to overcome any lantern challenges. Again, there's always the probability that it fails, but it's... You know, it's a better chance, and I don't need to invest as many people. So there is a reason to, you know, to actually move these people up. It's just a lower priority than, say, moving, you know, Enid to a key or turning Dorothy into a disciple. And then I'm also going to be turning in these commissions, so it's going to take me a while to get these pawns upgraded. But it's nice to do just to give you a few more options, especially when you have summons on the table. So I have what was requested. And I'm going to have to remember to deal with the affliction within 3 minutes. I think there's nothing else for me to do at the moment, though. We'll see if I take a wound. There it is. Is that it? I've resolved a practical challenge. We'll see if that turns into anything else. Okay, more currency of the secret world and tantalizing information. I also have more mystique, so again, as far as a ratio is concerned, it's possible I'll be able to let this notoriety decay into nothing. There's probably going to be 2 more chances for it to be drawn, so it's not the most reliable, but it might turn out. And we'll have a chat with Bichet. Sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. I could wait for... I could try and wait for some kind of vitality boost, but realistically I think spending the money makes as much sense, so... Behind a rotting tapestry of wolves hunting men, a paneled wall in the paneled wall, a secret door. The spring is long gone, of course. We have to smash it with hammers. So yeah, here I'm just going to spend the money for the healing. Then we can go back to going through the white door. And she would like a grail job. Okay, let's get the forge pawn. I'm just going left to right. There's no strategy behind who I'm upgrading here, but we'll turn our loyal but not very productive follower. We'll turn them into something more. The last treasures of the Comte de Reveline lie here. In a surprisingly airy room, high skylight windows have long since broken, and the floor is lost underneath, leaves and debris. But once this place was furnished as a nursery, here is a cradle with the skeleton of a puppy. So there's our swindler, there's more notoriety. There's really no point in me trying to overcome this season of suspicion. It is going to result in evidence at some point. It's really just a matter of me sort of delaying it. One thing is that the longer you can stay on that treadmill with Mystique, assuming that you don't have something you want to wind up doing with the adversary to begin with, the longer this runs, the more they're occupied. So this is sort of giving enough clues to sort of keep them busy without actually giving up anything. And this is indirectly a way that the threat of an adversary is neutralized, as silly as that sounds. You know, at some point you're going to have to pay it, but obviously with some judicious painting and deciding when you use certain cards, or maybe if you sort of swamp it with Mystique, you can wind up sort of determining exactly when you wind up having to pay that bill. So, all right, the Morphe Codex, Text of the Sisterhood of the Knot, unearthed by Evan Morphe. So we don't have Aramaic yet. I do have a way of getting Aramaic, but we'll leave it for now. We've got a Book of True Blood, a work by Cassius the Toman. That's in Latin, so I'll be able to translate that. We've got the Cinnabar Amulet. Scarlet is the color of heat. Mercury holds one key to an ultimate dissolution. It's a level 4 forge. I actually don't believe we had any I believe we did not have any forge artifacts until now, so that's a reasonably good find. Grey Dawn Oil, perfect for the nursery. Precise color of the hours when one cannot sleep. And the High Mysteries of the Innermost Chamber of our Church Solar. Secret rites from the Church of the Unconquered Sun, which held power in at least 2 histories. Now, again, regrettably, we do not have a way of translating that, so we realistically only got 1 book out of that expedition. Key Hunter's Garret. Vienna is one of the few cities which has the same name in every history, although adepts know it as the White City, or perhaps the City of White. In a snowy street, in a crooked house, in a high rattling attic, we have learnt an eccentric hunter of imaginary keys has established a tiny trove of odd books. Wicker Ant just found me on YouTube and I'm watching the first part of the playthrough there, just passing by to say hello. Well, I'll just let Indy run by. You've certainly said quite a bit more than a hello. Thank you very much for that subscription. I hope you enjoy it. Obviously, I personally would not watch an 11-hour video, but I hope you enjoy it. We've definitely gone down a couple of blind alleys. But yeah, thank you very much for saying hi. I don't want to keep you from watching that if you'd like to see things in chronological order, but this video will definitely be uploaded to YouTube before too long. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for saying hi. It means a lot when people from YouTube do take the time to say that. Okay, so yeah, it says we'll get books. I have a feeling that probably, as it says a bunch of white stuff, oh hey, that's a worm. It makes me think that I should be bringing people like Eau Claire and Violet, but the Voiceless Dead will do the trick, and they're close to expiring. I will bring the Hint again just because the Hint is a summon, whereas the Experienced Swindler can always be bought back. And as always, we'll throw a little money at it. Once in Vienna, we hear the Key Hunter has not been seen for many days. A local drunk insists that a great serpent entered the house to devour them. Certainly, the house is unlit and boarded up, and there is a reptile house smell. Alright, so this would suggest knock instead, but we'll see what comes up. One way or the other, I kind of want to preserve my expiring... Well, the 11-hour stream is the one that I did on Steam. Okay, well, we knew this was coming, so this would be a point where I either want the Swindler to deal with the evidence, or we get the Voiceless Dead to do that, but I think the Swindler will be the one that has the honors. Alright, we finished our on the histories, a very substantial discussion, a very substantial work on the unwritten events which shaped the waking and the dreaming world. Yeah, I mean, I don't find it that difficult to do streams like that. The funny thing is, I actually find it a lot harder to do edited material. I'm not going to suggest that my live stuff is worth like watching in its entirety. I will say too, like Cultist Simulator, it's a little hard to argue where the edits should be. But one of the things for me is I like the live format because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, sometimes there are a couple of videos which I decided not to upload to YouTube, but that's a very rare occurrence. 6 hours in, let me finish there. The game is amazing and my play is so entertaining. The hours, the literal ones, are passing by so quickly. Well, I do also know YouTube has the benefit of that time speed up, but I have a tremendous respect. I appreciate the fact that you're dedicating that time so much. So thank you very much for that. I hope, like I said, I hope you have a good time with it. It sounds like you are. And I'm looking forward. You get to look forward now when you see this video on YouTube. You will say, I'll even put the signpost, Wikirant. This is the moment where you stopped by and you made my afternoon. So hello, future you.
now present you. And I hope you had a good time with the remaining hours of the episodes. But yeah, the funny thing about live stuff is, to me, it's unless something really bad happens or there's a huge technical problem, it's essentially a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of me spending time generating content versus the material that gets put out. And the thing is that while there are content creators who are very good and really do have some added value by editing their stuff, I'm not entirely convinced that me editing my stuff necessarily makes it any better. I've just sort of developed a live style, and in the end, I sometimes kind of think it's maybe a little bit better viewed that way. So like an example of this would be Alex the Rambler is very good at Twitch, and he is very good at YouTube, but when you watch his YouTube videos, they are quite different from his Twitch videos, and he's got sort of a workflow down where the time that he spends editing his videos are ones that it makes for compelling content. And the thing for me is that while I am actually familiar with editing, I've done it in even a professional capacity in certain circumstances, I'm just not entirely sure that I have a lot specifically for gaming videos. It's one of the reasons why I was really happy with the beginner's guide to Cultist Simulator, because that was an example of a video I specifically did for YouTube, and it wound up working out. Like, it's one of the better viewed videos. So in my own case, I like the fact that I'm able to have these big long streams, but it also is a really big ask on the audience. So I'm rather happy that there is an audience for that. A lot of people usually just like having it on while they do something else, which is fine, because a view is a view. All right, let's carry on. I moved this to the wrong spot. I still need to talk with Madame Bichet, but one thing at a time. All right, I've increased the mastery of the lore of the knife, which we call by its aspect edge. So there's another Chiliarch's lesson. We can turn that up. We can obviously upgrade all of this, but for now, I'm going to focus on translating the existing book. If the Book of the True Blood gives me another one of the Colonel's names, then we can just upgrade that to level 10, and I'm happy. Okay. Cool. I know we'll lose at least one more notoriety. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. So, younger sister, the mother of ants, was born among serpents. She has so very many younger sisters. It can be defeated in battle, or it will respond to the mother's power. And we also have a hidden door. Hidden doors can be found with lantern or knock. So we've got reasonably good lantern power. What I am going to focus on is bringing knock in. And the nice thing is that both Enid and Neville are pretty spectacular. I am going to be a little cheesy, though. I'm going to put the experienced swindler in as a placeholder, just to keep their counter from going too low. And then I'm gonna flip them out in the last second with Neville or Enid to turn the tide. And the thing is, they deal with both of those threats. Okay, back through the white door. Practical disciple, loyal and good with their hands. So I have a commission to turn in, so I'll deal with this first. I have what the doctor requested. Receive currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So this, again, gives me some more mystique. This is another advantage of doing a bunch of commissions. It doesn't pay you in terms of funds, so, doing your scholarly works is not necessarily going to keep a roof over your head. But what it will wind up doing... Oh! I'm writing her commission, so I can't do that. So it's not going to keep a roof over your head. We were at 50, we're now down to 45. But what this does wind up doing, which is less obvious, is it generates a lot of mystique, and so that's one of the reasons why we're able to run on that treadmill a little longer than we normally would have. Of course, again, we still have some pawn upgrades that we can do, so we'll take the Formula Ophidian and we will turn our knock pawn into something a little bit stronger. Eyes like gas lamps, scales like black jade. The serpent is a powerful foe, but nothing before us. Now, I made a mistake. I was meaning to take the Swindler out, and I didn't. So that was bad on me. Let's put Neville in place. Now, again, we have enough to fight the serpent, but I really want to use knock. So the serpent's mouth is large enough to crouch in. Its tongue is the thickness of a man's shoulders, but almost certainly it will respect the power we bear. I mean, let's face it. If you were to come face to face with this, I'm pretty sure you'd collapse as well. Okay. So the one small problem that I have with what I did was I'm now going to be without a way of eliminating the evidence until the expedition is done. And that's fine, because there's other things that I can do in the meantime. It's just a little bit of a shame, so a key would be hard to swallow. Oh, I need to find something to do with work. I can paint. Yeah, I don't have any other commissions to do, so I think painting... Or, no, you know what? It's been a while since I've not been tending my flock, so let's improvise the sermon. Hey, Melemony. I've never tried to devour a Neville, so I could not tell you the relative ease of consumption. Alright, we've prepared the text for study. I don't know if the text has changed on this one. So Cassius the Toman reveals the deeds of the unnumbered legion, the secret army that protected Rome against the shadowless empire. Sounds like a good read. The Legion's legate answered directly to the hour called the Tribune of Scars, and he was promised immortality if he died in battle. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So, a hunter has found evidence, real or imagined, of my sins. Hunters with evidence of occult activities become more dangerous. Evidence may survive the death of the hunter who created it. So I have a season of despair to worry about before I worry about any evidence. Oh, back! It's too much for us. Okay, so I've got restlessness, which I can paint away. That actually wouldn't be too bad right now. Or I can go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight of the Orchard of Lights. We'll take the restlessness. Some dead are lost in the woods, some rise higher, but many, so many, pass the white door into the house and become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance. Our mouths were healed wounds. Their eyes roamed my skin. Their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burnt, and they drew back. Their urgency has infected me. Alright, we got some glimmering for satisfying desires. Let's go back through the white door again, mostly because I don't have anything better to do with the time. So apparently Neville was not quite enough. We've got a dexterous disciple, loyal and clever with locks. We'll turn in with Madame Bichet before we go any further, and then I'll also get a commission from Count Janning, so that's 20 seconds of talk that's taken up. And an expedition member has fallen, our numbers dwindle, so I no longer have the voiceless dead. That or they're potentially wounded. Let's see what happens. Yep. It is banished or destroyed. Now, this is going to be particularly difficult to deal with. And it's because the Season of Despair is coming up. Season of Despair is going to last 60 seconds. This chilly atmosphere also exists for 60 seconds, but the counter is started now. So... the... I could paint it. I could try and put it as an input to something to delay it out, but yeah, one way or the other, I'm going to have to deal with the Dreadnoughts. Am I not pursuing more doors? Are you talking about doors through the Mansus? A peculiar chill lingers in my rooms. Second order influence, apparent to the perceptive, instantly recognizable to an adept. Oh, actually, I've got a way that I'll get rid of the chilly atmosphere. Sorry, just give me a second here. I want to get better at reporting stuff. I've been noting this pink exclamation mark for a while, but I've never written it, so... I'll send that before the end of tonight. Sometimes my words and those I have borrowed move my congregation beyond mere concentration to exaltation. So this is the potential drawback of doing a sermon. So what card, to answer your question, I'm not actually looking for an answer here, but the answer to why I'm not going higher up in the Mansus would be, which cards should I put together to get higher in past the white door? Because I think if you look at this board carefully, you'll notice that I can't actually go any higher in the Mansus right now. The congregation listens closely. I've shared no secret doctrine today, but apparently that didn't stop them from going wild, so... okay, let's get the painting done. I'll keep the expiring mystique, but it's not going to do anything for me. Okay, now as far as talk is concerned, I was originally thinking that I might need to worry about the chilly atmosphere, but there's a really easy way that I can deal with that. So we'll take the Society of the Holy Wound. I'm going to upgrade my edge pawn, and then we'll just add a little chill. We'll turn off the air conditioning during the ritual. My follower will kneel as a novice, rise as initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Oh, I'm going to need to add more money for this as well, so... now, as far as where I'm at in terms of the overall expedition, we're still good. I am going to need to add some lantern at some point, but the loss of the dead is not as big of a problem as it might seem. As always, we'll spend money to make money, and turns out all that effort I put into the winter, I mean, it's prevented it from getting to level 2, but in this particular case, I couldn't have avoided it. So in the final part, Cassius confesses to being a former legate. He recounts his terror of the Tribune and divulges the secret lore of the Golden General, the champion of the Shadowless Empire, the enemy of the Tribune, in hope that the Tribune will one day be undone. So we've got the Lionsmith's names. The Lionsmith is young by the standards of the Hours, but old by the standards of war. His names are recent recruits, and their recitation has a savage power. So we've got our level 10 edge, which is rather nice because, of course, this is the previous game that we were playing. So I think we are going to pursue the edge if I can. Now I'm going to need to get some restlessness. So amusingly, this is the one time I actually would have preferred not I would have preferred to have not painted, but I can't undo that, so I don't think there's anything I can do study-wise right now, although now that I think about it, those who do not sleep I could have actually translated and I wasn't paying attention. It's Frisian that I don't have. Yep, it's both of these I could have translated, so. Ephesian text attributed to the mystic Broadnax. The serpent's mouth is large enough to crouch in, its tongue is the thickness of a man's shoulders, but almost certainly it will respect the power we bear. I say again, how could you resist that man's gaze? Okay. Lodge of the Sage Knight potentially gives me Fascination. Orchard of Lights potentially gets me Higher Secret Histories. Or Heart Influence. Favor from Authority may not be too bad to get, but let's go for the Orchard of Lights. Oh, the Subtle Fracture would have been kind of nice to have. Oh well, Forgotten Chronicle it is. Last night I walked in the Orchard of Lights. I plucked the fruit which is always ripe and consumed it in 2 bites. The taste is not to be forgotten. As I licked the glowing juices from my fingers, I saw a message carved in the bark of the tree. When I woke, I recorded the message, all that I could remember in my diary. So we've got no shortage of Forgotten Chronicles. Of course, the Forgotten Chronicles give me locations on the continent, and I know that I've got all the expeditions on the continent. So at some point, these are going to be used for upgrades, but it's going to take me a while. As far as dream activity is concerned, our devotion is drawn comment. So this is, of course, the drawback of actually going to church. The congregation gets a little rowdy. I was thinking of doing the wood and then use the passion, because the thing is I potentially trigger old and happy far off things doing that. The thing is that there's not a lot in the wood that I'll get, whereas there are a couple of things in the white door that I want. So I think I'm just going to try other means of getting restlessness. You can still get restlessness from going to the white door anyway, so I suppose as far as a probability is concerned, it's maybe not equivalent, but it's close enough. Okay, now, choices as far as work is concerned. Apparently I don't have any of my commissions, so I can't do those. I actually have a little less to do than I thought I would. I definitely need the restlessness before I pursue what I was planning on. So... Also, for some reason I flipped this around. I think I will try painting again. But it is going to be Mystique. Let me double check that actually. Okay, well I know I'm getting my restlessness, but I still need to wait. Oh! I can wait, but I still need to get the fervor, so let's do reason, and we will throw the unmerciful Tantra at it. I will speak to their souls, and if I speak with precision, their souls may answer me. What is the card with a purple fist on the left of health? You can't remember it for some reason, so most people go for the other one, but this is a matchless physique. I move like a mountain and strike like the sky. To master others is strength. To master yourself is power. Health and skill can increase no further. So this is the other aspect dangerous. Direct confrontation is always unwise, but in the very last resort, if it comes to a struggle, I am very dangerous. So most people go for the sort of the dexterity one, but this is the strength equivalent. Same with Never Know and Rarefied Mind. There's it's just the other variation. All right. To she who is flesh, I offer my wounds. To she who is stone, I offer this moment. Where my old self divides from my new. To she who came from light, I offer my secrets. The door is opened. We've got a sturdy disciple, loyalty, and muscles. Maybe we go to the gym together. Yeah, it's an unexpected one, but it seemed appropriate. Okay, I was gonna do something. Oh, right, I was gonna get commissions first. So let's have a chat with Jannings. So in 10 seconds, things are going to be set in motion for me to... oh, that's right, I also need to get contentment. Okay, so he wants heart. Adim would like something too, I'm assuming. So we're setting things in motion for me to get my restlessness. Again, I do need to worry about despair. In 30 seconds, I'm hoping we wind up with fervor, but there's no guarantees. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. Let's take Cat Caro. And this is going to be looking for the hidden door. Well, you know, I don't actually really need that because we've already got Neville on the case. So Adim would like lantern. So let's move my pawn back up. So promote a believer by invoking knock. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Okay, and we've translated those who do not sleep. The mystic Broadnax discusses the origin of the Sisterin Witch and of the Thunderskin. And I must have ordered this wrong. I'm just going to translate this one as well. So this would be the high mysteries of the innermost chamber of our church solar, secret rites of the Church of the Unconquered Sun, which held power in at least 2 histories. I can actually read the text and get the lore later, but for now, I'm just gonna get the translation done. Okay, so I've got my restlessness. I actually need to pull the trigger on this reasonably quickly. Okay, let's do Orchard of Lights. Ring it is. My emotions run higher than usual. There will be things I'll never understand, and those things are always precious. But just now, I'm closer to them. The sun in splendor, the hour who once ruled the Mansus, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Manuscript through the trees, or chillier radiance of the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is a gift of insight. So I gotta think if there's anything I can do with Dream that's slightly more interesting right now, but at the moment, unless I really feel like I need, unless I feel like I really need the contentment, I think I'm just gonna settle for, you know what, I'm gonna do the Moonlit Road actually. I know this dream. A road crests a hilltop and the air is silver bright, so we're not gonna spend anything on this one. Exaltation. Sometimes my words and those I have borrowed move my congregation beyond mere concentration to exaltation. The glory demands truth. When we are clad in truth, it shall not burn us. The deeper the lore, the greater the chance of exaltation. So now we have fervor, and the excitement begins. So I believe we're going to be making some real progress now. So, sermon, fervor, reason. The congregation is already in a state of excitement. Any secret knowledge will likely drive them to exaltation. So now we use the Lionsmith's names. The congregation, right. Oh, but it's going to take 60 seconds and I've only got 46 left on this, so I need to find a way of preserving it. I have an idea. Call upon the beach crow who sees what was lost. We bear a great power of opening. We'll almost certainly find this hidden door. Yeah, I didn't plan this appropriately. I actually need to get the restlessness at a very specific time. But like I said, I have an idea. Congregation has donated generously, and they haven't limited those donations to the collection plate. So we've got a little more money. Faint lines in stone, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moves with a grating shutter and a shower of dust. This is the Priest DLC, yes. Okay. This is going to be a little corny, but it's actually it's the most reliable way I've been able to achieve this thing. Hey, Kratel, yes. I figured the Priest DLC Sunday School is appropriate. I'm gonna have some interruptions to the regular schedule. I'm gonna be at work tomorrow evening, so I'm not gonna be able to do my normal broadcast. So I thought I'd make things up and do a little extra Cultist Simulator. So I don't think anybody's too upset with that. To she who is flesh, I offer my wounds. To she who is stone, I offer this moment, where my old self divides from my new. To she who came from light, I offer my secrets. The door is opened. Loyal and keen-sighted. Okay, so here is going to be the super corny way that I make this restlessness last a little longer than it's supposed to. So we're going to take the Society of the Holy Wound, and we'll upgrade the heart. We'll bring in the Formula Ophidian. Actually, I won't even put the formula in. We're just going to have the trappings, and we'll just have to leave this hanging out here for a little while. Let's read Those Who Do Not Sleep, because that seems like the sort of thing that won't provoke despair. The sister and witch were born in two wombs, one poor, one rich, across the sea. The sister was stronger in the aspect of heart, and so their survival was assured. The witch was stronger with the aspect of grail, and so they were not satisfied. So yeah, the one problem that I do have with this particular upgrade is it's very hard to time everything in such a way that you'll generate restlessness in a way that triggers what you need. But I might also I could also just be missing a detail in terms of how to more reliably generate restlessness. This game seems super complicated, and you can't quite figure out if it makes you want to play it or to not want to play it. So one of the things that's fun about this CKY2 is the mechanics are actually very straightforward. So all that you can do in this game is take a card and you can put it into a verb. Now obviously there are lots of different cards, and you've got, for practical purposes, 5 different verbs that you can work with. Sometimes there's going to be other things that you can combine with, but realistically you've got 5 different boxes you can put them in reliably. And it's a lot more about making sense of what these things are. Now the thing is that for me, I can always talk about how I'm putting one card into a certain area. What might be a little bit nicer would be, and I should maybe get back to this, is to talk a bit more about what's happening. So for instance, as far as a narrative is concerned, and this is kind of what's going on in the back of my head. So I've taken my work verb and oh, hang on. This didn't work out the way I was planning. This is different from what happened the last time this came up. Oh, I screwed up. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I know what I did wrong. I'm not going to try and keep that restlessness. I needed to use health, not reason. Okay. So this is a decent example to talk about what was going on. Yeah, I had an opportunity and I just totally blew it. I mean, the mythology is sort of the same. So the things to keep in mind are that, as far as the priest is concerned, it definitely goes to the kinds of traditions that involve the mortification of the flesh. And it is very Knock themed. Knock, concerns itself with openings, and as a result, wounds are a big deal. So that's kind of a very natural combination. I'm feeling like such a bonehead for doing it this way. I needed to use health. That's probably why stuff didn't turn out the way I was expecting them to. But to answer your question here, CKY. So I used my job on my work verb. Speaking of which, I actually don't see where there it is. So as long as I do not draw the attention of the bishop through dereliction or scandal, I can draw a living here. So the congregation is already in a state of excitement. Any secret knowledge will almost certainly drive them to exaltation. So I basically revealed some of the secret world through the Lionsmith's names to the already excited congregation. And I gave a very careful sermon, which turns out not to be the thing that I want. It says, "At last their fervor is spent. What have they made of this night? Well, this is exaltation. Sometimes my words, and those I have borrowed, move my congregation to move beyond mere concentration to exaltation. If I wanted to recruit someone, I could actually take my cult and bring them in, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave my cult to do whatever they want." So but I blew it all by... you know what? This really is dumb that I'm doing... Oh no, but I don't have the fervor, so yeah, like I said, it's not worth keeping the restlessness. I'll just I'll learn my lesson and leave it be. You know what? I should let this notoriety tick down because I don't have a season of suspicion coming up. So instead, we're going to use the mystique. So just 1 second. Okay. Sorry, I just needed to deal with something off of the screen. All right, as far as talk is concerned, again, I'd love to deal with this evidence, but we don't have my swindler until later, so let's get some more upgrades done, I think. My follower will need... Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to start blabbing about esoteric matters. Treasures lie before us. Again, this is a little bit of a shame that this turned out this way, but I dreamt of nothing at all. I woke up and stretched and rose without haste. Those quiet hours have left me energized. So nice that I get the vitality, but not exactly what I was hoping for. Let's say... I don't want to buy the drugs. I am going to go through the white door again, just because I would like to generate some restlessness. Realistically, though, I think the Season of Ambitions will be how I wind up. Nope, Season of Suspicion coming up, so... Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I am sane, if that means anything. No fascination drives your visions, it's over for now. And the congregation has donated generously, and they haven't limited those donations to the collection plate. Okay, when the sister and witch came from the west, the Red Grail permitted their ascension, but then grew jealous of their power. It lured the great musician into the ranks of its names, and caused him to be reborn from blood as a heart hour, and so that Grail might maintain dominion there also, but its victory is not assured. So we gain the Rite of the Sea's Fasting. This rite calls on the witch and sister to close the gap between what is and what might be. The adept pours or hurls an offering into water, preferably, but not essentially, the sea. So, and we also got the Formula Vigilant. So this will give me a choice between Heart or Edge, although we did already make a commitment that I wanted to try Edge first, so... The one who watches does not sleep. One who sleeps watches not. One who watches does not sleep. One who sleeps watches not. So CKY, I stopped the babbling partway through. So the thing is that as far as complexity is concerned, mechanically, you have only a few cards that you can put inside the verbs, and what you're sort of left with instead of the implications of what's going on. So there's nothing that's directly told you, okay, your parish is very much attuned to this secret world that you yourself are looking at and studying, and very likely have gotten in trouble for pursuing already. It's just, it's really heavily implied through some of the text, and of course it tells you if you give them secrets, it's going to make them particularly worked up. And if you can get them into a certain state, then you have another combination that you can run. And so there's this combination in terms of the hints that the game gives you. So for instance, if you click on one of these empty blocks, it'll tell you, here are the things that I will accept as an input. And in addition to that, you have a lot of these implications. It's not just flowery language that's contained inside of these. In the little fragments of text, it will tell you a little bit about how this world works and certain relationships that exist. You can actually find more of the doors to the Mansus, that map that pops up, if you read carefully what some of the text says. And sometimes it's not apparent until after you sort of realize it, and then you're kind of like, after the fact, it's like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell me. But that's what makes the game so interesting. So as far as it being a complicated game, it is definitely... it's one that asks a bit more than what most games do. But I think the payoff in terms of, whether or not it's worthy of your time, I've definitely found it a very good game. I found it one that definitely rewards the time that you put with it. And as I'm fond of saying, like, there's no Cults for Dummies book. And so essentially what this game is doing is the confusion that your character is feeling is essentially the one that you as a player feel. And as you are learning more from these fragments and hints about this world that lies just underneath our own, you, the player, are going on that journey as well. So it's a very rewarding game in my view, but I leave it to your own experience as to whether or not you want to try it. I will let you know there is a demo available now. It's on the Steam page. So the church chiefly worship the sun and splendor, the original undivided sun, but this text also includes the devotions of its aspects as the chilly winter dawn and the departing sunset, as well as the Menascate, the sun's night self. Priests of the church were all male, but rites are also included, which allowed women to cross ceremonially to manhood. Okay, so now I'm back to looking for restlessness, which we won't get right away, but I'm generating a little mystique, which will help me in dealing with the bad guys. And as it turns out, this generated some contentment, so I don't need to worry about the dread anymore. I have some commissions that I can do that'll also generate some mystique, so that's a good one. I need 4 for this one, I think. Yes. So I will now write a commission on Heart. The Count will pay for information of interest. This time, he'd like substantial research on the corporal mysteries of the heart. So I've lost 1 notoriety. This one will still be kicking around when the Season of Suspicion comes up, and we will be generating one from this expedition. So the room stinks of serpent musk. Oop, 1 second. Yeah, and burnt paper. Someone has comprehensively destroyed all the records they could find. They even scrubbed the walls clean. Cold ashes choke the fireplace. No trace of the poor soul who rented this place remains. Alright, we found an acquaintance, but I don't think it'll amount to much. A single corner of fire-curled paper has survived the flames. In a shaky hand, it reads, Lady K. Green, Chalcedony. 3 lobes, spring leaves, and 5. But unexpectedly, in a suitcase beside the flames, a little trove of books survives. Whoever destroyed the Key Hunter's journals saw no need to burn these books. So we've got Neville back. We've got notoriety. Swindlers come back. I'm going to get them to deal with the evidence immediately. And we've got The Serenity of the Black Wood, an allegorical history of the House of Leith, who he is here implied were inspired by the Centipede. Sereno Blackwood is an occult alias to this day. We've got The Ciphered Journal of Alessandro Lacrosse. Prince Alessandro Lacrosse spent years in the secret study of the tablets taken from the Fucine marshes in central Italy. His work will allow you to read Fucine texts, but it's written in a simple Latin cipher. You will need to decipher it first. Well, somehow we wound up with the work, so I'll be able to... Well, you know what? I'll try reading it. I've actually not... I'm actually going to try reading this. I suspect it will just get me the Scholar, but I kind of want to see if it gives me anything. On the matter of deeds of serpents, this is probably the prophecies of the Naga rendered into English and illustrated by William Midnight in Paris in the 1880s, but it shows a number of divergences from the text. It's certainly quite recent by the standards of VAC texts. I don't know VAC, so... And we've got the irreproachable traditions of the Society of the Noble Endeavor in Latin. Okay. Expedition-wise... This evidence might actually last longer than I need it to. That's a problem. Well, not much to be done about it, to be honest. So, Fermier Abbey. Robert Fermier spent much of his unsavory fortune on the endowment of this monumental, forest-crowded abbey. The monks dislike visitors. Their ways are not exactly orthodox. They celebrate a certain harvest festival with unsavory vigor. So we'll do that. We will bring the hint, but I will not bring the experienced swindler along. They are unfortunately going to tick down their usefulness. Let's add some money to see if the text tells me anything. Fermier Abbey, folded into the forest like a jewel box, smuggled in a green robe. If we can make it through the forest, we'll have to face the monks. Expeditions need at least 1 funds per obstacle. Followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. So, forest strikes me as sort of a lantern or a moth thing. Dealing with the followers seems like a moth, grail, or edge thing. So I'm going to bring a moth to begin with. If I need lantern, I just need 2 lanterns, so even the Percipient Disciple will be able to help with that. If it turns out to be something else entirely, we can burn that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, as far as this is concerned, this is sort of spreading out my risks well enough, so... Well, there's the restlessness. It's a little earlier than I needed it, though. Okay, let's see if I can hang on to it. Some dead are lost in the wood. Some rise higher, but many, so many, pass the white door into the house, and some become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance. Our mouths were healed wounds. Their eyes roamed my skin. Their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burnt, and they drew back. Their urgency infected me. Okay, again, I'm gonna cheese my way through this restlessness, but I have some ideas. The expedition continues. So, long ago, the primal trees marched from sea to sea. Some traces of their reign still survive, like the dense and choking territory of root and thorn. The practicalities of forge or the mysteries of moth may see us through. And monks, contemplatives, blessed or condemned to service here. They're bound by their curious vows. We can murder them or deceive them, but they will not be seduced. So, moth was the right call. Let's bring Yzabet to fix that. Yzabet is also a moth follower, so our plans are... Again, we're not guaranteed to get through them, but it's likely we'll be able to get through. I need to find ways of preserving the restlessness. The trick on preserving the restlessness is that I could try and do that through painting, but if I do that through painting, I'm not going to be able to generate the fervor. So, the church's highest rites were performed in the concursum, where the chamber at the mansus heart, where the hours were known to pass. These rites include salutations to non-solar hours, Grail, the Ringyew, the Horned Axe, and the Thunderskin. So we've got the formulae Concursit. The Concursum waits at the Lantern of the Mansus. It has been called the Chamber of Ways and also the Chamber of Endings. Its intricacies are probably beyond human comprehension, but these formula are a first approximation. Use this in a rite with a Noctool and a thrilling air, and other resources of equal power to summon a hint from behind mirrors. And I'll need to figure out what to do with the fascination. Okay, studying, let's just focus on translating the texts for now. I'm gonna throw away the cipher journal as a start, just to see. Yeah, this restlessness is gonna be a bit of a... Okay, so I've got my heart. I'm gonna put everything into it, so let's do the formula Vigilant tonight. I don't have any fervor, so hopefully we generate it. The wood beneath the mansus is darker even than this place. The moth will guide our footfalls. The success is very likely. So I got 23 seconds on the restlessness. Okay, now I have a dilemma here, so come with me. There's my passion, case of mistaken identity, mystique, forgotten chronicle. So here's my problem. I need to keep this thing active long enough for the fervor to come up. All well and good, but I also need to deal with the evidence. My experienced swindler is going to last 24 seconds, so I can't actually keep all of these things all at once. So in this case, we're going to discuss the occult business with a follower. We're going to hope that they don't scoop up notoriety in time. But I think essentially what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to try and spam as much moth as I can get. Now, we're already doing that on this expedition, but essentially what I need is some way of generating restlessness. The one nice thing is that this restlessness will be able to cancel out the fascination through the dream. But again, if I don't have restlessness, any fervor that oh, perfect. This is exactly what I needed. So we just read that. Now this is still ticking down. I still don't know that this is actually going to give me what I need, but I'm still in the game, so... Doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. So I bought myself enough time for the swindler to get to work on the evidence. There's something up ahead. We've made it through the forest. This notoriety is ticking down. This one will still be kicking around, so I know that we're going to have to deal with evidence at some point. And then we'll also be generating another notoriety through this expedition, but that's always been true, so... Prepare the text for study. Again, I'll just try reading this one. It has something in common with Latin and something else in common with the scratchings of maddened rats. Whenever the principle of heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. So that's from finishing the... Tonight they listen, but they do not hear. Using a suitable doctrine with reason preaching is more likely to create fervor. The deeper the lore, the greater the chance of exaltation. So you would have thought that the formula Vigilant would be enough to get the toes tapping, but apparently not. So I am displeased with my flock because that's going to be another dread I wind up with. Let's swing for the fences. Again, reason, and this time we'll take the formula Ophidian. I will speak to their souls, and if I speak with precision, their souls may answer me. I'm pretty sure that this thing decays into dread, though. I don't see any way that I can get out of it. And season of sickness is coming up, so I may not have any immediate solutions to this. Okay, cool. We're getting more mystique taken up, so... My minion is returned, the evidence has been destroyed, I am a little safer. Okay, so time for the lamest trick in the book. The air is curdled now. I am home again in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. So here I'm going to go back through the white door. We know that we've got sicknesses that's going to be coming up before too long. So this will just give me another chance to head up into the Mansus. Maybe even generate another restlessness. Who knows? But as I said, I've made my peace with doing corny strategies. This will let me hang on to my restlessness for as long as I need it. I mean, it does mean that I don't get to use the talk verb for something, but I don't really need the talk verb that much right now, so... Alright, in places it overlaps with languages I know, and other places, well, I can see why they call it the Tongue of Witches. I can understand it well enough now. So in this case, I could have sold that book. I didn't, and I didn't gain anything for it. But lesson learned. Let's bring back my Latin. Alright, looks like we've had some success. You have opened the door of this place, and I have passed through to stand before you now. But this is my promise. A time will come when I shall open, and you shall pass through me to stand in a higher place than this. So, that was enough to get them going. So, there's the exaltation again. What we're going to do this time is do it right, so we'll work. Now I'm going to use health, so to be a threshold. St. Agnes has drawn me here where I might fulfill my potential, and not merely to open doors, but to become myself a door. Add lore of at least the 10th level and a fervor to begin the process of creating a lock scar. So here we will add the Lionsmith's names. My people stand before me, voices raised in song, faces upraised aflame. There are doors that few ever see, fewer yet ever open. If I am willing to suffer the consequences, I might someday become one of those doors for my congregation to pass. Knock, and ye shall be opened. Okay, so this is the thing that I got wrong. It's an instantaneous consumption of restlessness. So we had the right idea the first time around. It's just I did reason instead of health. And I should have known that. That was just me being an idiot, but... this should get taken up. There we go. And that's why I was preserving that for so long. Okay. In the meantime, let's turn in some of this stuff. So I have what was requested. This is my own work in manuscript form. In the meantime, Dr. Adim would like... Dr. Ibn Aladim, called the Alapine, has offered you a commission. He would like you to provide him with a substantial discussion on the severe mysteries of the Lantern. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So... we're getting pretty short on mystique. I'm assuming that the detective's going to find something, something damning fairly soon. How many hours do you have in this game now? Restlessness notwithstanding, you seem to be very competent at it. I believe I'm now 230 hours? 230 hours exactly. So I've had a bit of time in it. It's fair to say. Let's have a chat with Madame Bichet and get a commission. So she's seeking pieces for the notorious Carisham Review. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about the restlessness was just I had essentially in my mind I had everything that I needed, and I used health instead of. I used reason instead of health, and so that was just me getting a little careless because I was streaming. In those cases, I actually don't mind. I mean, I've cheesed before, so I don't particularly mind doing something like that, because in the end, what I'm doing, like honestly, if I ever feel particularly hard done by, you know, I can bring whatever card I want onto the table. It's just... oh, no, I can't get rid of it. There we go. In practice, though, like, I want to kind of play the game as intended. It is a well-known, feature of the game that you can populate those areas with cards on a timer to preserve them. And for one reason or another, it hasn't been removed. So it's something that is permissible inside the game. And so ultimately I say, well, rather than, extend the cast with me, dancing around that for a while, I'm already doing something that at least is following the letter, if not the spirit of what's going on. And it keeps me from having to, sort of do some more of the grindier aspects. So, oh yeah, I didn't take it as a criticism, but just as that, for that particular case, I don't even think that that's all that damning of a blunder. It just so happens that it's the kind of blunder that winds up nullifying the advantage that I had, and obviously getting a second restlessness so quickly, it's like, well, I'll just do what I can to preserve it. So, all right, commission on Forge. Madame Olympie Bichet is seeking suitable articles for the Kersham Review. She'd like something very substantial, or indeed intense, on the change and suffering the Forge brings. So, I'm gonna wait a bit on the talk verb. The reason for that is I'm gonna want to have this ready to take my swindler on a moment's notice. So, as far as the monks are concerned, we've brought here with us certain sacred texts whose meaning is apparent only in moonlight. Faith is a double-edged weapon. These monks have a great talent in the matter of believing, and so they have believed our lies. Often the Mansus takes whatever it wants. Sometimes it provides. Indeed. And how you doing, Massimo Goma? I'm sorry if I can't remember if I just thought saying hello to you or if I actually said it. So we're carrying on with the expedition, and hopefully we'll finally make some progress. I'm really tempted to do the Lodge of the Sage Knight right now, so maybe favor from authority. We'll see. Nope. My emotions run higher than usual. There are things I'll never understand, and those things are always precious. But just now I am closer to them. I recall my dream. This was the Lodge of Blue Silk, flapping in the winds of the bounds of the Mansus Edge, and here was its mistress, who welcomed me as she welcomes all travelers. Company is nice, she confided, but I still miss my Christopher. 10 years and not enough. But we could not have been long together, not without touching each other. And you know what occurs when a man long lies with a long woman. Or perhaps you don't. I hope you don't. I won't tell you just in case. I'll give you a tiny gift. Okay. A little less obvious what I want to do with Dream right now. I think I'm going to wait the 6 seconds and then I can combine the lost health with the vitality. Our devotion is drawn comment. Better than the notoriety though, so more dread. The illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I'm fully recovered. Well, we can definitely do that. So exercise or something rarer has invigorated me. And now all I need is time. What does occur in such circumstances? Sorry, Kratel, I think I might be Oh, that's what you mean. I have no idea what happens. I'm sure it's just something that they tell the long to avoid getting into too much trouble. It's probably really great, and they're keeping the secret for themselves. Okay. And I might as well translate this one. So now that we're at a certain level of book, there's always a chance that it generates some kind of a nasty secondary effect. So while the Season of Despair is up, I'll focus on translating. The monks and their miseries lie behind us. Here in their chapel courtyard, a great yew rises beside a granite altar, lidded with a sarcophagus. What is within? So, let's see. We've got exaltation again. The work of the threshold. The deacon reads now from the book of Saint Respicius. Bronze shapes, but the heart labors. Hunger shows the red cup, and sickness the snow. The lantern knows, while moth understands, and the sword, when it comes, is its own answer. So I can basically put a little bit of everything in here, but at this point I'm going to do the glimmering, I think. I don't quite feel confident enough to add... Oh no, it's vitality, not health. Yeah, I won't take health. Hey, Dr. Frankenbinder. Yeah, we're about 2 hours in, so I can't promise I'll be going too much longer because I do still have other things to do today, but I've been working on a Cultist simulator thing, but I've been trying to teach myself a Python package called Pandas, and for some reason it keeps adding an extra line whenever I want to try and work through like I'm trying to work through a bunch of data that's in the game. It's all in the form of a data frame, but when I try and combine two bits of information, it's always adding this extra line at the bottom, and it's turning all of my numbers into floats, and just generally it's not behaving the way that I would expect it to. So I've been trying to take my free time to properly learn the software rather than just sort of pick up like bits and pieces of other code that I found in other books. But obviously that takes time, and time is short, so yes, it really does. Alright, the space inside the altar is filled with broken cups, everyone painted red, everyone scrawled with vile graffiti and otherwise befouled. The monks must have held great ceremonies of detestation and kept the remains as trophies. Buried among the cup corpses are other treasures. So I've got my swindler. It's a little tempting to just keep them around right now, but we've only got 18.6 seconds until the evidence is created. And I think it's probably better that I just rehire them now rather than try and maximize my sort of my value from them. Let's see what loot we got before. The Magus von Brandt's authentic and unique account of the true tongue of the true Holy Land of the Highmost, written excitably and in some haste by a gentleman in the grip of a transcendentalist enthusiasm, but nevertheless a useful guide to Aramaic. Now, the reason we didn't get Aramaic from Adim in the first place was we didn't actually have the Spintrea for it, and of course now I do have the Spintrea, and I just never got around to it because it's too busy doing commissions. But as it turns out, I have it now. I think I only have one book that's, yeah. So that's good. We've got the Tantra of Worms. So the entomologist Juliana Zwastowski eventually came to insist that this text was written by insects inhabiting a human skin. She never presented evidence for her claim. Okay, Tantra of Worms it is. The Thirsting Tantra. C.G. Burial, the temperance campaigner, published elements of this pamphlet, which had to be withdrawn and destroyed after it became too popular. I thought we picked this one up already, but I might be wrong. Against the Sisterhood of the Knot, and against the Sisterhood of the Knot and the foulness of their depraved customs, Hieronymus Suitor Hypnerotomachus wrote this furious screed about the sinister influence of the Sisterhood on his own Church of the Unconquered Sun. Rose pearl dust. Pearls are sacred to the witch and sister, especially those of this color. They have been used in protective rites, among others. I'm pretty sure you wrote something like that while tripping in a field in Serbia one time. Frankovinger says, take your time to learn it. The last thing you need, needing to use the coding and mess it up. How have I been? You appreciate the shout out in the last stream. I thought I pulled a sneak, but you were mistaken. Well, it was clever because you did that. Not only did you do that during one of the vodcasts, but you happened to do that with one of the vodcasts where I was just ridiculously tired after work. So I kind of went home and just crawled into bed. And I meant to have it on my laptop beside me, but I just like, as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was like out. So I normally am present during the Daggerfall and Surviving Mars vodcasts. And it just so happens that one time I was not around to see it. So you almost got through, but... All right, and De Oris Book 2 in Latin, a 19th century reprint of a 14th century Latin translation of a 4th century work. I still want to go straight back to expeditions, so let's have a chat about money with my swindler. The fact of the matter is, the swindler's going to be off dealing with evidence, so I can't count on them for the next expedition. The Vanderschaft Collection, a cramped little museum on a provincial town, long closed to the public since the outbreak of a peculiar rapture in a room where they keep the pressed flowers. Only the very curious would ever pay attention to the place and its close-warded storeroom of ill-omened treasures. So let's throw some money at this first. And I know I'm bringing the hint no matter what. The door to the painted chamber of the Vanderschaft collection is locked and warded. The building is said to be haunted by flowers. So normally what I would do here is I would bring Noct Disciple, because when it talks about being locked and warded, you sort of think, all right, well, probably we have something that Noct will work with. The thing is, as soon as I add one of the keys, it just blows open any problem that we have. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring Heart, and then we've already got Lantern and Edge in the form of the hint. So you got a job, you're working in distribution warehouse for Chainsaw Company. Very cool. Congratulations on finding the job. Yeah, well, the big thing about the coding too is, like, I've already messed it up in the sense that, like, it's not working as intended. I really meant to read that, not collect it, but there you go. Like, the only reason why I'm taking the time to read it is that the program's not doing what I intended, and it's doing it in a weird way. So at this point, it's just sort of like, well, I can flounder around, or I can go to Stack Exchange and harass people long enough to try and find the answer. But I am also sort of the conviction that, like, this stuff is not rocket science. Like, there's always a way through it if you take the time and understand the logic behind it. Because pandas treats data differently than sort of the standard default behavior. And it's something I should be familiar with because it is intended for statistical analysis. But again, with the first time you learn something, actually the worst that you can do is when you want to learn something that you already have a little knowledge of. Because usually it means not just learning, but it also means sort of divesting yourself of assumptions that you were making before. So it's a little bit, actually, you know what, a great example of this would be, a lot of us have to write in school. Now, okay, I say this knowing full well that this is a really well-written game, and chances are, if there's ever going to be a stream that attracts the attention of... I would never want to belong to Papa Michael, thank you very much for that follow. If there's ever going to be a stream that attracts the attention of people who, if not write for a living, aspire to do so. And as it turns out, I have a suspiciously large number of writer friends, and I'm still not 100% sure how I can account for that. But they're all really good at what they do, so that's good news. All of this is to say, what I'm saying right now might actually wind up being total nonsense. But I do have the belief that writing is just a really important skill to have, and you learn it in school and you practice it, and it's also rather frequent to do it for pleasure. And then, so it's one of these things that everyone sort of has some level of knowledge for, and then you want to get better at it. And maybe you'll pick up a book, maybe you want to write in a particular format or on a particular subject, or you just want to get a style guide or something like that. And your immediate reaction to some of the stuff that's written inside of it is, well, that doesn't make any sense, or that's nonsense, or this guy doesn't know what they're talking about.
For lack of a better word, is good.
Been watching you on YouTube, incredibly underrated channel. Exactly the same games I'm into. Love it.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's hard to call myself underrated when I get a donation like that completely, well, not completely out of nowhere, obviously you've been watching, but thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. I just need to double check I got the name right, because I was busy running. It was Papa Michael, I think, right? Anyways, thank you very much for the $10. It's really, that's really, really thoughtful of you. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I know I don't get a chance to stream a lot at this hour because I'm normally recording Daggerfall and stuff like that, but I got Daggerfall done early, so I got to run by. Thank you very much. But yeah, anyway, so part of the reaction to getting advice like that is because you're taking something that you're already familiar with, and you sort of have to break up those ideas and conventions you already have to be able to grow. I sort of find the experience of learning pandas like that. I have the set of knowledge that I have for things that I do at work. So I use SAS a lot at work, but I'm also familiar with Stata, even R, maybe R less so through work, but just through like doing grad school and stuff like that. Pandas, I actually really like using Python, but I've never used pandas before. And so in that particular case, it has a bunch of very sensible rules for working with data that are intended to be used specifically with the type of data that it works with. So there's sort of two fundamental data types. There's series and there's data frames. And it's all very logical, and it all works well, and it's intended to perform operations as quickly as possible. All of that's great. But again, because I already know a bit of programming and I already know how to work with data, and really I just want it to do this thing that I sort of already know how to do in other languages, it's a little bit more of a chore just because I'm spending the time divesting myself of the assumptions that aren't helpful. And that's ultimately why I'm taking the time. It's almost, in some cases, a little bit like this game, right? Which is, you will notice, especially for those of you who've been watching this for a while, I get stuck in these ruts. I still make mistakes which are based on my original experience of the game in the early, sort of the early alpha period, or itchy access, I think they like to call it. I still make mistakes because I've always thought of Cultist Simulator one way. And then when they, especially with this DLC doesn't give me a desire. And so, now I have to relearn, and now I need to think about things like, oh, how do I get restlessness and whatnot? So, but yeah, that was basically it. And yeah, Kratel, I mean, I definitely math is a little bit more familiar to me than writing, I would say. But I think it's true for most things that you learn, which is, like what gets you by, and when you in order to improve, you sometimes need to identify those gaps, or sometimes you'll learn a better way of doing things, but because it sometimes involves unlearning things that you've relied on for a while, it can be more challenging. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers on it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and around me is the cobalt light of the Mansus. Alright, we finally get to see what happens when I... Oh, and more importantly, our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. So, forge or knock for the warded door. And the fifth eye curse needs heart or winter. So we made the right call on a heart. I'm going to bring Neville. You know what, Neville, we've using a lot of Neville lately. So Enid will help us with the door, and then we'll bring Clovette for the curse. All right, 15 seconds and we make progress, hopefully. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. So, what I can do instead, as much as I'd love to rehire the swindler, oh, hang on. There's no evidence. Glorious. They blew it. They spent all that effort and they got nothing. Alright, so, the Serenity of the Black Wood. An allegorical history of the House of Leith, who is here implied or inspired by the Centipede. Sereno Blackwood is an occult alias to this day. So turns out I didn't need it. We did. I think looks like there's more here though. So the irreproachable traditions of the Society of the Noble Endeavor. That members of the Society of the Noble Endeavor adopted noble names at their initiation: Parsifal, Roland, Oisin, and they drew their inspiration from the Leashed Flame, which gave the island of Britain such appalling power in some histories. One Samuel Partridge has chronicled their efforts. Okay, let's get our Aramaic. So there is, of course, no single Aramaic, but I will learn what I can. And we'll move on Matthias and Amethyst Imago. Just making space for the extra scholar. Hey, Lyra Zydard. Yeah, I was gonna try and do one on the weekend because I know my survey collection this week is gonna make things a little tricky. And I had some spare time. I'm not going to be on for too much longer, but it's always a delight to see you again, Larzider. So the funny thing is, after you left, I talked about Walking Dead Season 2 a little bit more, and I suddenly started feeling a little bit more salty about the ending of Season 2. So, I don't know, maybe you infected my brain. Anyways, we're finally making some progress, hopefully. The deacon reads now from the book of St. Respicius. Bronze shapes, but the heart labors. Hunger shows the red cup, and sickness the snow. The lantern knows while moth understands, and the sword, when it comes, is its own answer. Alright, the work of the threshold. I have suffered. Perhaps I have not suffered enough. My restlessness is assuaged, my congregation is satisfied, but that is all. What? Okay, no, that's fair. I need to find, I was wondering if that would happen. So I need to match, the, if I want edge, I actually need to match it with the lore type. I don't remember what edge is. Okay. I'm pretty confident I can use the formula Vigilant. It does raise the question, though, if it's Lockscar, I don't know if that gives me a desire or not, though. I haven't actually seen any of the new Star Wars, so I don't have any opinions on it, but I know people were pretty upset with... Actually, so even though I didn't watch a lot of Game of Thrones after season 3 or 4, I try not to get too annoyed by Game of Thrones fans. I will admit the complaining about the final season of Game of Thrones is something that has kind of irked me a bit. Which is not to say that I don't think you guys can't complain about it in chat. It's just like every time I go on Twitter, there's another thing about Game of Thrones final season. And I'm like, it's over. Like, we do not need to keep talking about this now. So... Oh, that's so interesting, Larzette. I did not know that. So I don't need to... Let me put it to you this way. Is there a way for me to obtain the desire? Or am I sort of stuck without it? You don't need to tell me how, but is there a straightforward way that I would wind up getting the desire through playing it? Or I can... The way it works now is that when you rededicate your cult, you gain the desire associated with the founding lore. Ah, okay. Almost certainly shatter this. Right, because we've got the knock. That's fine. There's no way to get it through playing now, so you'll have to console it. Do you mind? I'm sorry to make you. Every time you come here, I've made you work. Do you know the keys? Do you happen to know the name for the knock one? Because that's what I would have wound up doing. Ah. And I don't have the ghoul. I didn't activate my ghoul key for this very reason. Although I think I might have seen it anyway.
Ah. Is there not one associated with knock? The knock one. So this would be dancer. Oh, there isn't a knock one. Okay. Ah, okay, fair enough. Then let's do enlightenment. I hope this is the right one. It has occurred to me that I hold the key to wisdom. This card will allow you to win enlightenment victory if you... Yes. This is what we were looking for. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, so now I feel like a complete bonehead saying is like, oh, this is so interesting. They're trying to make me like figure out a desire. This makes it so hard. And it turns out that was unintentional. Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. Yeah, I've actually already done an enlightenment victory, so maybe I can change it to something else. Let me just... Sorry guys, I'm gonna put things on hold for a minute just so I can take a look at the... Although I seem to remember when I was on a beta branch, my my achievements didn't trigger anyway. So yes, actually the one I don't have right now is Sensation, so maybe I'll switch it into Sensation. I will meditate on it, but only after dealing with my injury. Thank you for saving me from a what would no doubt be very difficult playthrough. A mechanism was also added for purging yourself of your temptation, but I will not reveal that unless you ask. So you mean like this can just go away, is what you're saying? Alright, same terms as before. So normally what I would want to do here is add... I would normally want to add the Swindler right away, but in this case I do actually need the... Actually, that's not true. Because Enid's currently working on the warded door, so I will add the Swindler for this one. One victory. I did not realize that there was a non-ascension victory. I need to pay more attention to this game. The story of a city without a gate, of a queen who is not born, of a war which was not fought. Okay, so again, first things first, I need to deal with the injury, so... Well, there are also things like where... Oh, yeah, okay. No, I will have achieved that one then, so... Actually, I believe I've achieved a few flavors of work victories, and unfortunately I don't have any wealthy... no little old ladies in the congregation that want to marry me and turn me into a trophy. But those are not the ones that you're thinking of. Ah! It is so hard for me not to immediately ask you what that is. I'm gonna resist the temptation so far, but Carly BXX, that is completely fine because this game is definitely not for everyone. But is there something... I have my own sort of explanation in terms of why I'm into this and why I find it enjoyable. But are you looking for that? Are you looking to get into the game, or are you just here to enjoy the experience of watching others go through it? Because it is definitely a one-of-a-kind kind of a game, and that's very good in some ways, but it's also one that, you know, for the same reasons that I'm sure,
Well, I mean, I've never really been too interested in Fortnite. Obviously, more people are interested in Fortnite than there are in Cultist Simulator, but I've never thought anyone is... I never thought of myself as, like, less of a person for not liking Fortnite. Alright. The language of Aram and all her many children, these 3,000 years and more. It's better watching others because there's a lot of mechanics in this game, and it's better watching other people figure it out. Absolutely. One of the people who develops the game is in here and kindly informed me that there is an unintended problem that emerged. Oh, actually, I'm curious. That wasn't the same bug as when I accidentally, like, deleted my cult, was it? That was... Or was that caused because of that? Anyways, yes, I can actually start making some progress in the Mansus then. And it's actually just in time because we're running out of expeditions to go on. All right, let me... that was something else, an old bug that had never been tracked down until you could watch your video back. Cool. And as I mentioned, I actually really appreciate you watching that video because I think Alexis and Lottie can probably tell you that I used to have like really regular support emails that I'd send, and then I got busy with work and I got out of the habit. And I actually have beside me a notepad of a bunch of stuff that I've observed during the game that I've always meant to email, and I never do, and then a new patch comes out, and I'm like, well, they might have already found it and fixed it, and so I just kind of leave it aside, and this cycle is kind of continued on, so someone being able to actually see that on a video has saved me the effort of actually submitting it, which is really lame of me because it's not that hard to send an email, but... I'm bad at it, so thank you very much for that follow, Carly BXX. So yes, it makes me feel slightly less guilty about the way that I've handled bug reports. Although I'll get a little bit better at it, even though things are kind of wrapping up. Okay, let's translate. Having a journal filled with confusing cult terms, the weary detective takes note. Oops. There we go. The watchman, who is the door in the eye, waits in my dreams. If I learn the lantern lore and I dream of this temptation, I can advance my purpose. The need gnaws at me. Alright, so... there's that restlessness I was looking for. Let's think a bit about... I do need to get rid of the restlessness because Dread's coming up. Yeah, let's paint it away. I'm actually going to leave this one hanging out just so that it can tick down, even though I will make less money out of it. And then for... let's just turn in the Forge Commission. I'd obviously like to do the Lantern one, but got some other priorities. Okay, now I need to... Whoa! Doors have two purposes, to open and to remain closed. Today, this door remains true to its second purpose. So, looks like Enid was not quite enough to see the thing through. We'll add Clovette just because she'll get through the curse, and then I'll add the money after the fact. And I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So let's have a chat with the good Count. Nothing fancy, we'll just spend a little money on our paints. Jannings would like a commission on Edge, I think I can handle that. And if I want to do the talk, I could try and upgrade these pawns. The reason I'm not going to do this, though, is this does give me some options to get rid of influences that I don't necessarily want to have hanging around. So instead, let's... actually, these are kind of my top tier ones. Let's have a chat about Winter Lore. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. This is just a hope of getting sort of the last mentors. I tend to, once I have all the disciples, I tend to just abandon it. But I should probably get the full roster. Okay, let's dream about. Should I dedicate myself to my purpose or focus my efforts elsewhere? So, purge myself of temptation. My own desires are nothing. I am the threshold. I am the road that my people will walk. I will set myself irrevocably to that purpose. This will destroy your temptation permanently. Be sure that's what you want. Oh, this is a really tough one. So, now that I know... See, now that I know that there is an end without a desire, so this is a really good example of, so at some point I got the unhelpful assumption that you always need to fill the slots. This is clearly not true. I actually I can't give an example of this because I'm currently painting. For the longest time, I used to put a vitality and a money into the heal, and I always played the game this way. And I can't remember what it was that finally made me not double up the vitality and money expense on the dream. But similarly with rituals, I always sort of said, it's like, oh, okay, if there's a slot for desire, well, I'm sure, Ed Baver, you can probably talk about it in private if you'd like. There's nothing stopping you guys from like doing whispers or something like that. I'd probably rather it not be talked about in chat just because I'd kind of rather not like close the chat window just for the purposes of people being able to, to talk about spoilery things. But I'm sure he'd be happy to tell you. Well, sorry, maybe I shouldn't speak for him, but like, I don't mind people like asking for stuff. I think it's just a difference between like, hey, how do I do this thing? If there's quite literally no other way that you can communicate that, let me know and I will look away for a period of time and then I will go back. But yeah, like I don't mind other people. I don't mind other people talking about the game. It's really just me having a chance to be able to figure stuff out on my own, because that's where I have fun in games. But yeah, no, feel free to ask away, and if you don't have any other way of communicating it, I'll just make sure that I don't look at what's going on. Sorry, Lyrizator, I've now outed you. Okay, so yeah, now that I know that this is possible, there's a side of me that really wants to try it, and yet there's also a side of me that wants to like see what more of the priest content is like. The thing that fascinates me is the idea of trying to get past the white door without the thing that fascinates me is the idea of getting higher in the Mansus without having a desire, because I was under the impression that you could only ever go... Well, no, I actually have some ideas. Well, here's what I'm going to do. First thing is I'm going to switch it to... No. Sensation. Perhaps sensation is the sweeter goal. I am very tempted to purge it, but I'll leave that decision for another time. Azim approves. My latest paintings have reviewed well. Okay, so... By the way, it is also worth mentioning, CKY, that Lars Eder's actually had a credit on Cultist Simulator longer than he has been officially part of the development team. Okay, work. I can write my lantern, or I can paint. Writing seems like the better call. Alternatively, right, so I'm not going to be going through the white door to get restlessness right away, so there's no point in working up the congregation quite yet. Let's do the lantern work. He wants substantial, so... And then we'll review this in a minute. IRL, an assumption without desire, is closer to the goal of many traditions. You like it. If I don't get any sleep tonight, I'm gonna blame this stream for sitting up and think. Actually, I used to always play this on, like, whenever I wanted, like, private playthroughs, I'd always do them on my laptop, and I think cloud saves just got implemented, so I don't know if I can do that without... Well, I mean, I know how to, like, manually change a save and stuff like that, but I don't want to spoil this one for everyone else. All doors must open, as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. Hey, new patron. I'm going to assume that this is Poppy. Okay. A trembling in the air. The sun flickers like a shadow. Dreams ripple behind the surface of mirrors. I must be careful not to drift from the waking world. Fascination may provoke visions. So, the wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. In 55 seconds, we've got another season of Suspicion coming up. So, this is going to be a little dicey because, obviously, the notoriety... Like, we've got one notoriety out of a big stack. Am I going to be a devotee of St. Agnes? Well, apparently there is no knock... Wait a minute. At least by the default options, no knock one. Can achieve experience of an intensity few could imagine. This card will allow you to win a sensation victory if you upgrade it far enough. Dreaming about it might advance or change it. I'm going to think a little bit about this. So, way, white door. In my dreams, I know the path to the white door through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead who pass that way. I will need health to resist their chill. So I've always looked at this. So we've got invest health to pass the white door, or to follow desire to the stag door, the door of the no. So I've always thought that you can't get past the white door without this. And of course, this is not a... Oh. Huh. I always thought you had to upgrade this a little bit higher. So the ascent is slow, winds from nowhere pluck at me. My skin is stained with light. The wood shivers with motion far below. I've got my 10 heart, but I think... No, I also gave it the money, so... Manuscript is done. I'm kind of buying time in terms of what I do with the desire, because I'm genuinely unsure about what to do. The one thing that is kind of curious to me is what you do if you decide to get rid of the desire before you go through the white door with the job. Because that strikes me as a really difficult way to play. Not impossible, but at least difficult. Let's do the Edge Commission just because I can. The Count will pay for information of interest. This time he'd like whatever you can assemble on the practices of the Edge. Okay, more translation. I don't really need to be not translating right now, but apparently once you start translating you can't get enough of it. What am I doing? There we go. We're strong enough in heart to be almost entirely secure against the curse. And something just changed, but I don't think I caught it in time. We can learn from each other. Hey, there's Poppy. Alright. More Mystique. Mystique is actually rather helpful still. This is just because it gives the detective something else to follow, so let's turn in that commission. I'll still blab about secret lore, but obviously after. Alright. So again, we'll be particularly unlucky if this notoriety gets picked up first, but we'll see. The Stag Door, a ridged barrier, a blood-streaked horn, huge enough for a ship to pass. It was broken long ago, and even now the scars are not quite healed. In a declivity beside the door rests a vast and wounded golden head. Its mouth would be large enough to swallow me, were its jaws not shattered. It is the name, Girby. It begins to intone its riddle. Alright, so the Stag Door's riddle. Where is the queen who was not born? Answer this riddle to pass the Stag Door and be accounted a no. I'm not sure that this is... I believe I have this one, so... So, the riddle, where is the queen who was not born? Answer this riddle to pass the Stag Door and be accounted a no. And this is why reading the text is so important. A story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Her heart is buried in another history. And I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So there's erudition for my trouble, more mystique. And looks like we're already working on more commissions, so let's, I'm bad at this. Alright, let's have a chat with Madame Bichet and see what we can find. Okay, and we got the Mystique, so that's good news there. We know at least one of the notoriety will go away. Of course, we are just finishing up an expedition, so it's almost certain that we're going to have to deal with the... we're going to have to deal with... new notoriety anyway, but gives me a small breather. What else do I want to do? I think I said I was going to go blabbing about lore, so let's speak of esoteric matters. I finished the manuscript. I probably should have waited. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. So, a brief discussion. My own work in manuscript form. So, what I should have done was turned in with Jannings, because this is going to take 2 minutes now. In the meantime, though, I still have a little bit of money. I've been kind of on a decline because I've been doing all of these commissions, but I've got enough to keep me going. So, let's do a quick commission on Moth. This may be useful. Madame Olympie Bichet is seeking suitable articles for the Carisham Review. In particular, she wants something suitably intriguing about the principle called Moth. Thank you, Carly BXX. I've tried to make it so that every stream that I do, I have a different board layout. The centerpiece is kind of obvious for the Priest DLC. The only thing I'm unhappy about it is now with the mentors, I'm running out of space. Although I don't believe that Sulachana ever gives me. I don't believe she ever gives me commission, so it's not too much of a worry that she's down here. It does bug me a little bit that I don't have better locations for my my items. That's the one thing about this layout that I don't really like. But other than that, I've been having a pretty good time with this one. And like I said, each part of the fun about doing so clearly, if I've got 230 hours in Cultist Simulator, I want to try and find ways of keeping things fresh, and one of the ways that I do that is to be able to try different board layouts. Some of them are more daft than others, but this one's been working pretty well for me so far, so thank you. How do you envision yourself speaking about lore? Do you shout it out in the street, whisper it in a cafe? It's winter lore, so I kind of feel like I would have to put on the mime... Hey, did you ever play Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers? There's that puzzle with the mime. I feel like I would be that mime, and I'd be doing a one-man production of Stum. Apologies, by the way, to people who have no idea about Cultist Simulator. That little exchange probably made absolutely no sense to human beings, but... Lock the study door, the work begins. So I think we only have like 2 more books after this one to translate. Alright, our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Oh, Jesus Christ. And it was the weak, wary detective too. 9 seconds! You couldn't wait! You know what? We need to buy him a subscription of the Illustrated London News. We need to have that thing on his doorstep so that we can continue our work in peace. Alright, the walls of the painted chamber carry scenes of war from all the major histories. Vienna falling to the worms, the sovereigns of the leashed flame burning the martyr soldiers of the Knot Sisterhood, the meeting of Alexander and the Shadowless King. Along one wall, a shelf is stuffed with junk and curiosities. Alright, this is going to be a case of mistaken identity. Nothing we can do about that. Well, maybe we can, like, imprison them, but... and we finished a Moth manuscript. So. That's not Poppy's work. Okay. Against my better judgment, I think I'm going to try and provoke... no, you know what? I'm just going to phone it in this time. We'll still give mysteries. I'll speak to their souls, and if I speak with conviction, their souls may answer me. So we may wind up with the fervor. If we do wind up with the fervor, I need to make a special effort to try and get some restlessness to work with. But at this point, I don't know. I feel bad being a priest and not tending to the flock. A book of pressed flowers emanating a peculiar scent. 3 elderly Baedekers, a collection of butterflies painted black and white, and the real treasures, an oddity in a glass case, and a cloisoned coffer of rare books. Got a rattling in the soul. Notoriety as always. Swindler. Good work, Enid. Good work, Leo. Got a hint. Alright, a paradoxical curio. Sometimes it is hard to be sure if an arrow slew the Empress Herodias or the Empress Eudokia. Sometimes it is possible that an Ormlu clock was stolen in the sack of Vienna, even as it rested safe in the vaults of Rome. Alright. Our excitable... Oh, the Geminiad. That's another one to translate. A fragile manuscript illuminated by the twin shapes of sad and luminous beauty and with the phases of the moon. It might be as old as the 7th century, but the language, if you've seen, is much older. Coral decorates its cover, and its page edges are sharp enough to slash a throat. We've got the Watchful Tantra. We're running out of room for our books. I gotta put a gap because this is the sale pile. Notorious for its involvement in the deaths of Dyfed Jones and Meredith Blaine, 2 early physicists who each claimed to have the only copy, who ultimately fought a duel over it in 1840. You've got a jumble. Well, that's definitely one for the sale pile, so that's not going to work. And Vincent inscriptions. Everett Vincent transcribed these Frisian inscriptions from a cliff in Anatolia, where he famously survived a lightning strike. He died 7 years later to this day. His bones, legend has it, were hot to the touch. So that one I can stick down here. Let's... something like that should work. Okay. How am I for time? I've got like 6 minutes. Well, translation still seems to be the name of the game, although really I should start reading some of these books. I do also want to continue on with my expeditions because I do have a summon right now. Oh. I've been ignoring what's been happening at the stag door. So the door grinds apart. The watchman's light floods from the corridor within. There is a grinding moan from the head, Girby. Tears of molten brass bulge from its eyes and roll down its cheeks, scorching the ground beneath. I may enter. The stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head, Girby, weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Okay, so this will give me access to better secret histories. Let's go to Foreman House, because that's going to be the last one that gets me sort of the stuff I'm really looking for. So Philip Foreman, the helminthologist and antiquarian, did all his best work here in the family home until the day his subjects escaped. The infestation was destroyed, but Foreman, they say, walks the halls to this day, guarding his library and his shame. So here I'm going to combine... Well... Uh-oh. I think I'm going to get the corrupted save. There we go. I think that usually happens when I'm holding my mouse button down. Okay, so let's get the jumble back. We didn't really lose that much because I'm too busy talking. Okay, Frisian, move you out of the way. Aramaic, Morphe Codex. I believe we're back on track. So, Foreman House. I kind of want to keep the Swindler around because I know we're going to have to deal with evidence before too long. So, let's take a look what the text gives me. Unquestionably, this bleak mansion is haunted. The last visitor saw and fled the dead before they could touch him with their fraying hands. The visitor before claimed she saw nothing, but she died of despair exactly 1 year later to the day. Expeditions need at least 1 funds per obstacle, etc. I'm going to bring Claire just because the dead usually implies that I want to bring some kind of a winter along. And just to caution you, I'm kind of near the end of the cast here, so if you have any burning questions or other points of interest for the game, now is a great time to bring it up. I'm actually very tempted to keep going through the white door right now just so that I can get, I have a little more of a reliable source of restlessness. Because I am trying to work up my congregation to a frenzy. But let's start with the Painted River. And we got a lesson learnt. I am ready to improve. Use this with your scholarship skill to improve the skill and gain reason. It lasts up to 5 minutes before it decays back to an erudition. So, that's not going to get me very much. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the White Door far through the Mansus to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. and all the while the captain and I discoursed of the secrets of the House of the Sun. Dr. Frankenvinder's gotta go. You love all of you, and hope your weeks and everything goes well. Remember, there's still grave dirt coffee in the break. Thank you very much, Dr. Frankenvinder. I'm pretty much wrapping up myself here, so I'll no doubt see you before too soon. But thank you very much for hanging out as always. And I'm glad I got a chance to thank you in person for the sub. I've been really curious with OBS lately because my frame rate has been dropping. I normally record at 60 frames per second, but it's been a pretty constant 30 throughout this video, and I'm wondering if this is something to do with the fact I'm still using the old version, or if it's just because my processor is not equal to I mean, I'm playing everything at a proper resolution now. That's the whole reason I bought this monitor, but I have a feeling I'm making OBS work harder than it needs to. So that's something for me to think about on another day. Okay, so we've got a way through the stag door. In my dreams, I found my way to the stag door, sometimes called the Horn Gate or the Adept's Door. I have answered its riddle, and am counted among the know. So we are going to go through the white door, and that's just because it gives me a chance of generating restlessness. I don't really have a lot of good ways of generating that, so I'm going to keep at it. I'm not sure if a rattling in the soul decays into restlessness. It might, but I don't remember it well enough to say that for sure. And it might take me too long anyway, so I can always, if I have too much restlessness, I can always paint it away. I can't do the reverse though. Okay, more fleeting reminiscence, good news there. Okay, so we do have the fretful dead. Not all dead rest easy. These ones dislike our intrusion. We can prevail against them with edge, or they may obey one who comes in the name of winter. So that's what Violet's here for. We also have the dry soul curse, so we'll need heart or lantern to suppress the curse. Otherwise, it will not keep us from our goal, but it may trouble us later. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, although I think probably just bringing in the either the heart or the lantern crew throughout will be... Oh wait, no, lantern's obvious, because I actually just need to bring the Percipient Disciple in that case. I'm not thinking straight. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So again, that'll be what the swindler deals with, but only after we finish our business with the acquaintance. Okay, exaltation. Sometimes my words and sometimes those I have borrowed move my congregation beyond mere concentration to exaltation. So, a case of mistaken identity. This isn't who you hoped for after all. They're no one of particular importance, and eventually they will pass from your memory. Perhaps there is no one else available that you'd care to meet. This would be a fun one, by the way, because they have aspect mortal. I believe it is potentially possible for the what is it? The operation of the declining sun. It's Poppy's right. I wonder if anyone, there should be like an achievement for if a case of mistaken identity just gets sucked up by the winter rite. That would be terrible and hilarious at the same time. I've definitely had it happen. So I closed out my I don't remember if it was my long play. I'm pretty sure it was my long playthrough. I closed it out by taking the deal with Poppy and then getting eaten before I had to pay it back. But and then I did it wrong, and then, so I almost thought that I would have to let Poppy collect. That was a little hard stopping, but that was fun. All right, in the House of the Sun, the dance of the angels of glory does not cease. Those who are cast down, wave, or wound, or snow are gone from the house, and as long as their parts in the dance are filled, they may never return. Therefore, let us join hands and add our little steps to the dance. The deeper the lore, the greater the chance of exaltation. So, we do have fervor, and I've got 3 minutes to deal with it. Now I need to find something to do. Yeah, I don't have the moth, so that glimmering's not going to help. Erudition... Yeah, the lesson learned should be able to help me, though. The Sun in Rags demands a beautiful end to the case of mistaken identity. Alright then. I won't let it turn into dread. I'm already working on my commissions, so there's not a lot I can do with my work right now. I suppose I can try and keep the vitality alive, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, painting it is. Can we paint the mistaken identity? No, wait, come back! Chase him with my canvas. So, Season of Sickness is coming up next. That might have its own benefits. Again, all of this congregation stuff is new to me, so knowing that I need to match the aspect. So I know I can't use knock with the level 10 lore. I have a means of using the lantern. It is likely but not certain I will have a means of using heart, and it's least likely I'll have edge. No, icy atmosphere. Let's go to the Orchard Lights. Ooh, dodged a bullet there. Alright, the Sun in Splendor, the Hour who once ruled the Mansus, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Manuscript through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the Sun in Rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is a gift of insight. I'm pretty sure that Dread has edge, but that feels like a really dangerous chance to take right now. So instead, I'm just going to roll the dice on the white door and see if we can generate our restlessness. The other thing I can try and do is invoke Moth, but that's a little tricky for me to do at the moment. Just because I'm sort of tied up with some of these others. Sometimes you march your followers to low-level expeditions to improve them. Come on, Neville, you only need a brutal experience to be my ideal summoner. Right. So yes, we have what we need for the dead. So the dead circle the edge of our vision like frayed dreams. The very air around us is chill with winter's shadow. They must recognize that. So I'm gonna add the lantern that I need to deal with the curse. We'll pay for paint. And we'll do our best to deal with the fervor. Uh-oh, our devotion has drawn comment. So that's, I suppose, always the risk of working up the congregation. Okay. So illness, not normally good news, but might give me something I need for church. All right, I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. So 22 seconds to go, and I don't normally like letting the stuff tick by, but I'm actually going to see whether or not the buzzing in the brain falls to something useful, I'm pretty sure it does become restlessness. So much so I'd almost be willing to do this combo, but I do get a small benefit from waiting this out. Minion is returned and the evidence has been destroyed. I am a little safer. Okay, so let's see what happens here. It does turn to restlessness, so I can make the next move. Ah, but I don't know exactly what I need. So let's, I'm actually going to turn in... I'm going to turn in my commission. So I have what was requested. So all that I'm doing here is I actually want to see if I can use my sickness in the formation of the scars. And again, I'm going translation crazy, so we'll do one last Tantra and then we'll start reading the books. This is the Watchful Tantra. Lodge of the Sage Knight. In last night's dream, I was in the Lodge of the Sage Knight, and behind the white door is... it is difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I had lost my speech when I passed the white door. How is it that I can speak? She said to me. I didn't come here through the white door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else. Just 1 minute. I did have somewhere I needed to be, but I'm just trying to see if I can get a little more time. So I need to figure out what my game plan's going to be with these scars. So I know that's not related to desire anymore. Can't use knock. Okay, so my options here are lantern, heart, and edge. I don't think it accepts... Okay, well, restlessness doesn't have edge anyway. So... I'm just trying to think of how I would get an edge. I think edge is despair now that I think of it. So my safest bet at the moment is lantern. And this is due to the erudition lesson learned and erudition. I don't have level 10 moth, which presumably would have been glimmering. Yeah, so, and if nothing else, I can get a little more clarity in terms of what some of those cards do. So, let's go be an opening. Formula Concursit and Fervor. My people stand before me, voices raised in song, faces upraised aflame. There are doors that few ever see, fewer yet ever open. If I am willing to suffer the consequences, I might someday become one of those doors, for my congregation to pass. Knock and ye shall be opened. So this will take up the restlessness. I don't know why I didn't put the Swindler in, but now they're there. And we've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So this is actually one of the drawbacks of me not reading these books, is I bet you I would have had level 10 moth lore to work with. But that's life. Okay. Jennings is up next, and apparently I've decided that I'm just too good for the Mansis. So let's work through that stag door. In my dreams, I know the path to the stag door through the maze of the bounds. Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason, or I need lore. I don't think Lantern does the trick. Oh, okay, apparently it does. Then after the stag door, I don't think it was winter. Seeing as I have it. Oh, cool. In dreams, the silken sands are the place that whispers. Grey grain sift, grey weeds quiver. I know the words that open the wind, so the sands will permit my passage. There were some revelations about Teresa a while back on the latest design stream, incidentally. Nothing major, but her status is less certain than the game suggests. Oh, and you know what? The latest design stream is actually that's the only one I haven't caught, I don't think. I think it's the absence of the Kickstarter reminder. I need to check that out. By the way, this is a terrible thing to do. There's many more sophisticated ways to know what lore, but I've already got so much of it. I just wanted to brute force my way through doing it. So again, receive currency of the secret world, and tantalizing information is always nice to have. So let's have a chat. I don't think I'm quite ready to chat with Poppy yet. It depends on how you want to play. I tend not to... Well, if I wanted restlessness, this illness has damaged my health. I will need rest before I'm fully recovered. So, an affliction is winter. I don't have enough winter lore out of that, though, so... I am rather curious, though. I think this might be able to decay to dread. Well, no, I've already made the commitment, though, on I made the commitment to Lantern lore, though, so... Okay, Adim wants secret histories. I was just thinking, is like, oh, so maybe I can try the Edge. And I'm like, I can't try the Edge because we did the Formula Concursant. So... What was I going to talk to? Oh yeah, I was gonna shout the operation of the declining sun on the rooftops. Ah! The red cup, the cup of drowning and devouring, waits in my dreams. If I learn the Grail lore and I dream of this temptation, I can advance my purpose. The need gnaws at me. Okay, I made a complete mess of this. Where is my scholarship? Right. Okay, no, this is roughly the way it should be, I think. Well, in fairness, don't cry Zanzibar. The thing that got me priest was... Okay, I need to be careful about this. The conversation with Weather Factory was not to the effect of, you need to stream this for 11 hours, you know, or we won't give it to you. It was completely of my own free will that I streamed this for 11 hours. But suffice to say, the price for this access might be a little bit higher than what people might want to bear. But yeah, no, Priest is pretty cool so far. I misinterpreted a couple of things that I ran into, and so I'm sort of making up for the sort of my boneheadedness, or maybe bad assumptions if I want to be more charitable to myself. And then Lyracider, as he is wont to do, kind of comes in with a very tantalizing... See, one of the things I really like about having Lyracider in the channel is that he has a fairly good idea of where my boundaries are in terms of what's okay to talk about for the game. So obviously a big part of the appeal for this game for me is to figure things out as they go along. I kind of think that's the reason why most people should like a game like this, although obviously enjoy the game on whatever conditions you want. Hello, Simer01. It has been a while, I feel like. I'll just caution you, I'm actually close to wrapping up, but I'm going to do my best to extend things out as long as I can. But yeah, so he has a pretty good idea of... He can usually say enough to make me aware of something that kind of gets me on a new train of thought, or makes me aware of something that maybe I should have been thinking about before. But it's never enough to like ruin the experience. So as a result, I've now been given this bombshell that so I ran into something which was a quirk of playing this under the circumstances that I was at the start. Oh yes, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I mean, with that in mind, I'm a Kickstarter backer, so I already have the Perpetual Edition, and I was given an opportunity to stream this on the Steam page more than a couple of times, so I'm already kind of predisposed to really liking everything that Weather Factory already does, but of course I wouldn't be doing streams like this if I didn't already really enjoy the game. So I'm having a good time with it. But yeah, I'm now thinking a bit about what might wait for me on the other side. This is why I've been not upgrading the Temptation Sensation, by the way, because I'm actually mildly tempted to annihilate it with the priest job. Anyways, we call upon the Colonel who cannot be denied. The Colonel is a fierce hour, but a power which knows light, and he has survived worse. His power will almost certainly protect us. So that's for the Dry Soul Curse. We're still on our way to becoming a threshold. My people stand before me, voices raised in song, faces upraised, of flame. There are doors that few will ever see, fewer yet ever open. If I am willing to suffer the consequences, I might someday become one of those doors, for my congregation to pass. Knock, and ye shall be open. The curse shrivels. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. And more translation. I don't believe there's anything else for me to translate, so now I actually need to start reading these books. Much like real life. So, the Serenity of the Black Wood. The proverbial footloose gathers travelers in a wood and leads them through, but abandons them part way. They find themselves beset by glorious monsters. You're just watching Canadians play with sticks? How is hockey, Velkin? And good to see you. Say, is the reason counter at the bottom off by 1? When did I get 6 reason? I know we lost a passion to the curse, but I don't remember gaining additional reason. Wrong sticks. These were straight and called cave. I didn't know Canadians tossed cavers. Okay, we've got Exaltation, the work of the threshold. The deacon reads now from the book of St. Respicius. Bronze shapes, but the heart labors. Hunger shows the red cup, and sickness the snow. The lantern knows, while moth understands. And the sword, when it comes, is its own answer. All right, so most of this stuff makes sense on its own. Oh, sneaky. They don't actually show the... Wait a minute. Okay, so it won't take an iron spintrea, but it will take a bronze. Oh, that's really cool. Passing the stag door. Well, I can check the VOD for this, because I actually just recently passed the stag door. I didn't even think to check that. But I had the Forgotten Chronicle was the stag door riddle for mine, so I can double check that. But yeah, I suppose it's so not only is it 1 reason higher than I currently have, but I also don't believe I should have 6 reason. Anyways, so just to parse this out, because this is one of the things I've always been of two minds about going really in depth on this sort of stuff. So whenever I read some of this text, there's what goes on in the back of my head. Not sure what the reason thing is about. Maybe there's a hidden reason somewhere. It's possible, I suppose. I know that sometimes cards get on top of each other, but if I think about it, like, I'm pretty sure I had 5 reason at the start of this cast. And I haven't used any of the rituals that change one card to the other. I don't know. It's something something I should be able to check on Twitch after the fact. But yeah, so even if I didn't have this tool, so we already know that Glimmering has Moth, so so Lantern knows, Moth understands. So I'm assuming these are the references to the Erudition and the Glimmering. Hunger shows the red cup. So presumably the hunger card has Grail aspect. I don't get hunger very often, so I know I'll need to fast if I want that. Maybe an injury is edge? No, an injury is knock, though. Bronze shapes, well, again, Bronze Spintrea, it's got the forge on it, that makes sense. Vitality, heart, so that makes sense on its own. We already know that affliction is the wound, so I suppose the injury is edge. I always thought it was dread for some reason. Okay, well that's fine. Now I just need to figure out a way to injure myself. And I'll actually be injured before too long, but the restlessness will be gone before I can do anything about the fervor. The sands drain away like water, and beneath is the stone from which gods arose so long ago. Ahead is the door, glistening like rain, its black surface beaded with blood, each drop heavy curved like a swollen tick. Okay, so let's throw the erudition in before I go too fast. In the vision, we enter the second chamber by the rending of the wall, and it screams like a peacock, but its blood is gold. We pass in triumphant procession from the cloudy slopes to the bright corridors of the House of the Sun, and our mouths are opened that we may bear words, although, as at all births, the youngest word is a scream. Okay, thanks for letting me know, folks. I'll take a quick look when I have some time, and I'll do my best to write it in, which is probably a dubious claim because I'm sure I'll mess it up and not report it. But yeah, I'll find out where the free reason's coming from. So our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. And we've got some mystique and a little money from the excitement of the congregation. Check the VOD. You did indeed gain reason from the stag door. You have a screenshot right here. The priest's so smart, his brain spontaneously grows. I mean, I'm just playing in character in that case, then. Oh, cool. So I'll get to see if there's another patron. I feel like there's at least one other patron. Okay, interesting. So Dread is edge aspect, but apparently it's not enough for what I can't use it for what I need. Whew, okay, Serenity of the Blackwood. The travelers discovered that they can survive if they close their eyes and adopt a closed eye as their sign, and that they can go unnoticed if they drink from the clear, cold streams. They never forget that proverbial footloose, the centipede, but they never forgave her either. Okay, so these things will be helpful for clearing each other out. And we've got the Centipede Testament, so that's our level 10 Moth lore. The centipede came up out of the sands and went in under the roots. She found a new home, but now she can't go home. She creeps in everywhere else. Keyholes and histories and the channels of birth and sight and hearing. Here's what she has to say. It becomes necessary to open the brain case, relieve the pressure, or tell the gullible doctors. Okay, let's just keep reading these. Let's keep reading these books. So, the irreproachable traditions of the Society and the Noble Endeavor. The members of the Society of the Noble Endeavor adopted noble names at their initiation: Parsifal, Roland, Oisin, and drew their inspiration from the leashed flame, which gave the island of Britain such appalling power in some of the histories. One Samuel Partridge has chronicled their efforts. I didn't know that you could solve multiple stag door riddles. Although then again, I've never tried going through the white door again, and presumably I could use my desire. Huh. Again, another fantastic example of assumptions where it's like, there's no reason for me to think I couldn't apply it again, I've just never had a reason to do it. Okay, their endeavor was no less novel, a furious arcane conflagration which would refine them into something more than human, but such transformations are rare, and they often ended less nobly in ashes. Okay, so I know I've got another restlessness coming up. There's an outside chance I might be able to stoke the fervor to be able to turn... If I get an injury out of this, I might be able to turn this into something useful. Okay. My congregation have waited all night in vigil. I am awake. My mouth has been continued into my cheek. Oh my god! Did I ever tell you how I got these scars? And although it is almost healed, it will be a new agony to speak. It will heal, but my speech will be renewed, but the scar will remain. Health has been permanently converted to a scar. There are always 7 marks. You will need 7 lock scars. There is always a way, though the way may be narrow. Okay, in addition to the fact that that's horrifying, now I need to find a way. 7 lock scars. Wait a minute. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yes. I have 5 health. There's always a way. There's got to be a way that I can get more health. You know, I'm kind of glad that I'm going to have a few days away from this just so I can think about how I'm going to make some of this work. Because the thing is, I've never really had that much use for rituals that convert, like, reason to passion and such, so I never really thought about whether or not it's possible to get more health through that. Yeah, the thing is, though, to trigger this, you need, I believe to trigger this, you need to use health. So the dilemma is, you may absolutely be right, but if I take a path that takes up all of my health, I may not have the opportunity to find out the alternative. Interesting. That's going to give me quite a bit to think about. And this was the second, it says that this is the second chamber in the rending of the walls, so maybe Moth is the first. I feel like Moth would be the first. We'll get a chance to try that. God, that's a really fun way to end it. So, Lantern Lock Scar. When I am When I am threshold, this scar will open at the flush of dawn. So aspect lock scar, perhaps a serpent has kissed me, perhaps a knife has drunk of me, perhaps I dreamt too sharp a dream. In a rite with sufficient intensity of knock, this scar might open. So aspect tool, aspect knock, aspect lantern. Whew. So the most obvious next step seems to be to go for glimmering. The only question now is whether or not I want to try and provoke the congregation. I won't be able to get it with this glimmering, that's for sure. But I am about half an hour past where I was going to finish. I have something I need to do, like it's a drop dead deadline for 8 o'clock, which is in 2 hours. And I've actually got a few other things that I need to finish. So we've got our first scar. This is horrifying, but wonderfully horrifying. So I am very excited about, I mean, it's obviously, this is one of the nice things too, is like obviously for a couple of videos we've been leading up to this. We kind of knew something gross was going to happen. That is particularly nasty, and I'm assuming it's going to get even worse. So yeah, this is, I'm definitely really interested in seeing where all of this is going to go. And I am also, so now I need to check. Oh no, instrument. Okay. I also need to start checking these rituals to see if they've been changed. I think the right intercalate has the most. Oh Jesus Christ! The right intercalate would make a ton of sense for that too, because the division, repeating the division of the sun. Good. I think I know where this is going. This is gonna get pretty, pretty tough. Yeah, I need to find the right intercalate because I have a feeling. I think I know where this is going. But yeah, this seems like a good spot to finish it off because this is a bit of a payoff for some stuff that we were working towards, and I'm gonna need to go. I'm gonna need to go and think about what just happened. So, thank you everybody for hanging out. This is definitely fun to do this on an off time. For those of you who followed, especially for those of you who donated, I do need to let you know. My usual casting schedule is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, except for the third Wednesday of the month and the basically Canadian holidays. So that's usually the Monday. I'm more okay on doing the Friday because the Friday is kind of like the end of the week anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry, Valken. You could always pursue a Ghoul victory. Well, I don't have the Ghoul DLC in yet. The Ghoul DLC, I don't think, never mind about, but yeah, so just a quick word, I'm thrilled by the people who followed and donated and stuff like that. It would be a bit much for me to be able to commit to being able to do regular Sunday streams like this. Obviously, the warm reception has definitely given me encouragement to consider times. But the thing is that I always know that when streaming at a certain time, you generally want to do it as either a special event or you want to be consistent in it. So I'm not planning on adding a regular Sunday cast until I know I can actually sustain it. Sunday's normally when I do my other VOD recordings, so things like Daggerfall and that. The upcoming week is going to be a little bit screwy because I am going to be doing these calls for the survey, and that's usually going to be at times I would normally broadcast. I believe there will be another Steam stream coming up. I don't think I've been told specifically when or if. Well, I feel like I've been told if. I don't think I have a specific slot scheduled yet, but I will leave that for the announcement. I don't know if they've actually said that that's happening. I don't think talking about the fact that there will be one is a problem, but I don't want to like say, oh yeah, you can catch me on Steam and then not be there. But once I know, you'll know. Unless, of course, I'm told not to say it, and then you'll know when I'm allowed to tell you. But yeah, this week's going to be a little bit of a strange one. The Tuesday Daggerfall stream is definitely happening. The Surviving Mars may not happen because the audio is particularly garbage. And I will do my best to continue on with a regular Cultist Simulator stream on Wednesday, but I need to... Actually, you know what? I have the schedule for the... I am an affiliate Metagaming TV. But no, I'm not partnered. Where were we? Yeah, I'm sorry, Jumping JD. I did go a little longer than I was planning, but all good things must end. I know this is not a beautiful ending, but... So I'm just taking a quick second here to look at my schedule, so... Yeah, this is about the ability to stream on other platforms. Yeah, no worries. It's an important problem, because, like, I know some people would like to stream on Steam, and I think their conditions don't allow them to. I don't exactly know the details of it, but... Okay, so Monday I am phoning people in Brandon, Manitoba. Wednesday I am free, though. So it looks like my Monday and Friday streams are probably going to get spiked due to the work thing that I'm doing. But the good news is Cultist Simulator will be intact, though I cannot make any promises as to the status of the priest by the end of this. But anyways, with all of that in mind, Wednesday will be the next time to see some Cultist content, unless I can squeeze that in at another time like this, but I will always announce that on Discord or on Twitter. Let's just take a quick minute. I'll see if there's anybody I can host tonight, or I know it's a weird hour for me, so... Oh, actually, there might be someone who you enjoy.
And glider redeploy. A player.
I really wish they wouldn't opt in. Okay, here's the dilemma that I have. And I'm gonna let you guys make your decision as to where you want to go. I do notice that there is a streamer doing Cultist Simulator right now. It looks like they've got about 3 viewers. So normally what I would want to do is to host them, give them a nice go. So it looks like their name is Basic Cronel, BASIC CRONEL. And if you'd like more Cultist Simulator content, please do check them out. The only reason I'm not hosting them right now is that there is a streamer called Metamancer who's doing Dungeons and Dragons right now. And one of the one of the people that... Actually, you know what? Here's the other way I'm going to do this. Because, honestly, these are... I feel a little bit bad dividing it this way. Let's give the host to someone who has not... who's doing Cultist Simulator, because I'm sure they'll appreciate the attention. I know you guys came here for Cultist Simulator anyway. If it is not your thing, or if you're specifically here for me, I will let you know that Metamancer is streaming Dungeons & Dragons right now, and Call of Cthulhu, who is also a fan of Cultist Simulator, is playing alongside them. I thought they were playing Call of Cthulhu, which is why I was going to be doing the host, but it's Dungeons & Dragons. So if you want, Metamancer is a fine caster to check out, and there are some people who you may be familiar with from some other Cultist Simulator streams. But let's keep this Cultist themed, and let me just bring up the raid. So Basic Chronicle, I don't know who they are. You don't need to do that raid message because they don't know me, and they may not appreciate people coming in saying there's this system chalk guy doing things. But let's give them the attention. And yeah, I don't even know what legacy they're playing. Let me just take a quick second and bring them up. So they are an aspirant. It also looks like their stream quality is a heck of a lot better than mine. Interesting. They don't give me the details anymore. But yeah, they actually look like they've got their whole act together. So I hope you guys have a good time there, and we'll see you Wednesday.